Hi there, and welcome to Oz Hour, the only place where you can hear everything you never knew about the wonderful and strange land of Oz.
That's right. Today we are coming to you with a very special episode of Oz Hour. Our listeners have requested, begged even, that we cover Disney Pictures' 1985 dark fantasy film Return to Oz, and today they are gonna get it.
In today's episode, Hannah Blake and I will explore a brave new territory for us as we drink our way through the unofficial feature film of L. Frank Baum's second and third Oz books.
We're your hosts, Blake Stone.
And Wyatt Swangham.
And as always, joining us is Hannah Aguirre, but this time with a twist. The three of us lost our Return to Oz virginities together, so in this episode, there is no Oz initiate, only Oz experts. Hello, Hannah.
We all gonna pop our cherry together.
Jesus God.
It's a family show. Yeah, none of us have ever seen this movie before. I'm really excited to talk about it. I loved watching it.
No, when we watched it, I had the realization that I think I saw this on TV when I was very young.
Oh,
But from what I remember, I just remember being really confused about it because I was like, this is Oz, but then it wasn't.
like some cheap.
I had no
version.
context.
Yeah.
I had it on my ViewMaster actually. So like there were moments from the movie that I remembered as like stills as I went through my ViewMaster of Return to Oz.
That's so crazy.
I've never heard of this in my entire life.
Yeah.
So watching this was all very new to me, but it really got me into feeling like I know Oz.
Yeah.
You were like,
Good.
that's not right.
I felt like I read a book and then they made a movie of it and they got everything wrong.
it's very that. As we'll discuss.
Well, as usual, we are going to have a cocktail and then another cocktail and then another cocktail. So it's not as usual. But
That's right. Tonight
Party.
we are drinking 3 signature cocktails, the first of which is the Electro Shot Therapy, the recipe for which you can find on our Instagram at Oz Hour Podcast.
all right, slurp it, slurp it.
Thank
All
you,
right.
doctor. Whoa.
Return to Oz, released in 1985.
Okay. The first thing I noticed right off the bat with this movie is that
The horrible green letters.
Yes! I said we open with ugly green syrup letters that say "Return to Oz."
It says Walt Disney Pictures in these horrible green letters that looks
So
like a
ugly.
green Jolly Rancher.
They're like emeralds.
I
Yes,
know.
I was like, no,
oh
that's
my
flubber.
God. It's like it's been 45 years, and literally it looks worse in 1985 than it did in 1939.
You know what looked good though? Toto looked just right.
Oh, little
Basically,
toad.
the first thing we see is Toto just looking just right, and Dorothy is awake.
Yeah, she's like crying kind of, and also just staring at the stars as if that has anything to do with Oz. Am I the only one that saw that? It, like-
Oz 9, the 7th celestial.
You're right. In the 7th celestial ring of Oz, Oz 9, that's where Dorothy goes.
Oh my god.
No, it was like her being sad, looking up out of the hole in her roof, and then like it panned up to the hole, and it was just the stars, which I get is overall wonder, but I'm like, why the fucking what? Like, why didn't she catch a rainbow on her wall or something? I don't know. I had questions.
But then Samantha from Sex and the City comes in, and she's like, "Hey, you're still awake?"
Oh,
I
Yeah,
don't
she
think
came
it
in
was
pretty
her.
hot, honestly.
She's like, "Go fuck to sleep."
she did. I thought that she looked like Debbie Reynolds with red hair.
Okay, I could see Debbie Reynolds. I don't know.
I could see that at some certain angles. When she
Yeah.
first came on, I thought she was a villain.
She looked.
I did not
mean.
think that she was like Aunt M.
With
But
that
obviously,
updo?
like
Well, and I think that her characterization through the first part of the book or the movie would lead you to believe she is a villain.
Yeah.
She's somewhat mean.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Because she does
Honestly,
come in
she was-
quite militantly.
Go back and listen to our other bonus episode where we did the 1939 movie because I didn't like her either. I
that's
can't-
true.
it's just mean.
Well, maybe it's just the way that women were portrayed in
Yeah.
film back then.
That's true.
They're
And-
like the American Gothic couple.
Because the only
Yeah.
thing we saw of Uncle Henry in the movie was like him sitting in a chair and her being like, "Yeah, he had a broken leg before."
See, we're gonna get to that, but I
And then
wasn't sure
the
if I
other
heard that
time,
right.
yeah, I mean, it just we only saw him like once or twice, and he barely even said anything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Aunt M's a bitch.
When we first see him, he's like seeing this ad for electroshock therapy.
Electric healing, it
Electric
says.
healing.
Yeah, he's just reclining, reading his little newspaper.
Oh, I don't even think that's what the cocktail's about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, and
I
so
see. I
there-
think I missed
the first
that.
hint of what will be the cocktails themed after.
I see.
On kind of like sets the tone of where this is going by being like, it's been 6 months since the tornado and Dorothy hasn't been herself. I'm taking her to Cottonwood Falls tomorrow. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Cottonwood. I can only imagine what that must be.
Scary.
Yeah, and there's like, oh, she's making up all these memories, and this Uncle Henry is kind of, as always, painted as the good guy, and he's like, oh, like, I don't want to have to pay to get her shocked. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Wait, but On-M's sister can offer them a loan.
Oh my God, I didn't actually even catch
He was
that.
like, that's charity. And she was like, it's not charity, it's my sister.
Oh my God. Okay, I do remember that actually.
Just take the money.
But yeah, they're about to put Dorothy in a freaking sanitarium, which is crazy. But then the next thing is like Dorothy seeing a shooting star and being like, Toto, a shooting star. So I'm like, oh, okay, no, yeah, maybe lock her up.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's a little intense.
seriously.
And also if we're introducing Belina now too, if that's possible.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
because they go outside and Dorothy's.
Because she already was talking to Belina like she talked.
Yeah, she was. She was acting like Belina. So yeah, Toto's
"Hey,
chasing
girl."
chickens. Dorothy's out there. She's like, "Oh, Belina, like if you don't have an egg, then Aunt M's gonna make you supper."
Okay.
And I'm like, "Okay,
When we
you're
picked-
fucking crazy."
When she picked up Belina and like called her Belina, all three of us went.
Yeah.
It was like the biggest noise I
I
ever
have to
heard.
say, like, because of Belina, I never look at chicken the same anymore.
Wow,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
just like geniuses to you.
Well, they're just like Belina to me. I'm
get
just
you.
like, oh, it's Belina. And so, like, when I did see the chickens, I was already in my head thinking, like, ha ha ha, Belina. And then she said Belina, and I was like, it is Belina.
When we went to the state fair last week, all I was thinking when I was looking at the chickens was Chicken Run because they were like
Yeah.
in these little like 3x3 cages. Or something.
They live in a better life at home, but when you go to the fair, you have to be in a little cage. That's the rule.
That's the rule.
Belina rocks though because she finds a key.
Yeah, yeah. Belina just shows Dorothy this key.
Which again, I think
which-
we all gasped when that happened.
Yeah. It
Well,
also,
I was like, wait, where are we? Are we in Kansas or are we on a beach somewhere?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I'm
This
getting
is
a
the
little
flash
confused.
forward. Well, it's interesting too because I'm like, okay, did Belina, as the chicken in that moment in Kansas, did she know that she was giving Dorothy a key, or was she just being a chicken and like trying to eat it? Like, I
Okay.
don't know.
See,
yeah,
that's
what's the
something-
relation?
Yeah, that's something I don't get. Like, did Belina do that on purpose? It's very similar to like what happens after because like they look at the key and it clearly says Oz.
Yeah,
like
it
the
has
top
the
of
Oz
Ozma's
emblem.
scepter.
Yeah.
And Dorothy's like, proof, that's proof. I'll go show Aunt Em. And Aunt Em's like, oh no, that's
my
just a
God.
key from the house from before the tornado. And I'm like, okay, but is that the truth?
Okay, that's a good question
Mm.
because my first thought when she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go show Aunt M," I was like, "Why would you do that? Aunt M is gonna hate that."
You know, Aunt Em,
Yeah. Well-
she's literally not allowed to talk about Oz.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So okay. So then, Dorothy says that first of all she thinks that the key is a message from her friend. Aunt M hates that, and I'm like, why does she think that? Like, granted, I didn't really realize until just now the shooting star she saw was probably the key falling.
Oh my
Oh
god.
my gosh.
Yeah.
It's going through the crust.
Yeah,
Okay, it's going through, it's going
through the
right
crust.
through the crust. Yeah.
There's an outtake somewhere that makes that a little more clear.
Yeah.
and it just didn't make it in.
Yeah. They deleted something.
We're buying the DVD. We're tearing those special features apart.
So Aunt M is like, and again, she's kind of being a villainess, and she's like, why don't we talk about it? And Dorothy's like, because it isn't real. And
No,
Aunt M
way
is
to
just being
give a
really
kid a
scary.
complex.
Yeah,
Jesus.
she's just like, you can't sleep, so you can't help me around the house, and if you're tired, you won't be helpful. And I'm like, this kid went missing for some amount of time, miraculously came back. And it's been 6 months since it happened. That's
Yeah.
not that long.
That's
You
not
know
that
she was
long.
gone. Even if
Yeah.
Oz isn't real, like if my kid was saying that stuff, I'd be like, "Oh, so like you were kidnapped and someone was
So
hurting
something
you, and
horrible
this is what
happened
your
to
brain
you."
just did." Yeah.
Also, it's during such a time that like PTSD and like being traumatized or triggered was
Yeah.
such not a thing.
No, I
That
mean they're about
people-
to shock this kid.
Exactly. That it's just like, well, we got to get him into shape because we have a whole fucking house we have to
Yeah.
build.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
And-
not taking
yeah.
this.
They're gonna be over there daydreaming when we've got roads to
Yeah.
hoe.
No thanks. I don't want to hear about whatever happened to you in that tornado because you're back now and you have to work.
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
and
You're
it's
back
just
now. The
it's-
house
that's
isn't
insane,
even built.
actually.
Yeah.
Because the house is still being rebuilt. And something I noticed and Googled, looking at the images side by side, I am pretty sure that house is actually modeled after the house from the 1939 movie. It looks
Really?
almost identical, but like when we see it, like half the house isn't even done yet, so it's just
Yeah.
like boards.
Yeah.
At the end, we see it. I
It
guess.
looks, yeah, we do see it at the end.
maybe.
Mhm.
But it looks exactly like the 1939 movie house.
Aunt M says that she doesn't want to take Dorothy to the doctor, which is like totally just a threat. And she's like, hey, we have 2 mortgages. They won't ever let us go. Like, we're always going to be in like the poorhouse, Dorothy. You have to help us out. And like, and that's when she said like Henry broke his leg or whatever, which I did not really quite catch. But Hannah, you said that too. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay,
He
I'm
Must
not
have
crazy.
Broke it in the tornado.
It must have happened during the tornado.
It must have, yeah.
And she was just coming across as like he's been healed for a while now. But if
Yeah.
it has only been 6 months, I don't really think it
I
would
know. But
be
also-
healed.
Okay, so is she saying like Henry broke his leg and he's not talking about it anymore?
Yeah.
Because obviously
I kinda
whatever
think she
Dorothy
is.
went through is much bigger.
yeah, she was missing and
Yeah,
she's a child.
And she's a child.
People
yeah.
break bones.
Come on.
Yeah, no one goes missing after the tornado and then comes back.
Seriously.
but then they're like, okay, we're taking you to the doctor. So they go on in a horseback in a buggy. Like it's very
But did she or did she not look like Miss Gulch?
yes.
It kind of was given because she was wearing the dark, like the dress,
Yeah.
the hat, the.
It was very
Yeah.
you know. Yeah, I
and
get that.
like I felt like that was an homage because when they start pulling off Meat Dog in Hot Pursuit, Toto's
yeah.
like, "Where are you going with my gal?"
Oh my god! I literally was so sad with the Toto yelping.
Oh my
yeah.
God! Yes, I have Toto broke my heart screaming for Dorothy.
God,
I had
what
he
did they-
howls in agony.
Yeah, what did they do to make that dog do that?
They were pinching him.
Oh god!
he was like Dorothy.
So they go through a lot of farmland, which is insane. They go by an open fire with a covered wagon next to it, pilgrim style. All the roads are dirt. There's an old-timey brick sanatorium. They went complete colonial America on this, and as will be revealed, the year is 1899. So I don't know why they're rolling through like it's Indian country
Yeah.
or something.
They're like the year was 1650.
Exactly. Yeah. Just got here with Columbus last week. Like it's
the
I don't
Wild
know.
Wild West.
It's so colonial looking. It's crazy. But they eventually roll on up to this huge, like old-timey, like whitewashed brick building that I think I already said looked like a sanatorium. Like it looked like everyone just goes there who's crazy to be killed.
Dorothy kind of gets checked in and gets her little interview with the doctor.
Interrogation.
But she
Yeah,
tells him
honestly.
about Nick Chopper's entire origin story, like as it is in the book.
as it is. I
Yeah.
appreciated
I was
that.
like,
The
cool,
real
cool, cool, cool.
story.
I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, he gets his leg chopped off, and yeah, he gets his arm chopped off, and yeah, then he does get his head
And
chopped
yes,
off.
he
Yeah.
does. And yes, he did. And yes,
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. oh my God.
Did anyone else notice that he was wearing a ruby ring?
I didn't pick up
No, I
on
did
that.
not.
You know, I will say this later because I have a theory.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I
Wait,
think I know where this
Did
is going.
he end up being someone? Was he? Oh,
Okay,
wait.
yeah, that was my
what you were
theory.
thinking?
I was
Okay.
thinking.
Come on, man.
Sorry, we'll cut that.
Yeah, we'll cut that out.
Another thing that I love though is that then like during the story, like the doctor's like, "Oh, and you mentioned a tiger," and I thought this was gonna be like a
That's
deep cut
right.
Hungry Tiger reference, but then Dorothy's like, "No, it's a lion, a cowardly
Mhm.
lion."
I
He's
did
like,
hear
"Oh,
that too, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I was like, "Damn, they're going deep."
We're getting all the characters here. Okay.
We met the tiger before the lion.
But then they do like kind of the wrap of that is like that she clicked her heels 3 times to go home. So like that's very 1939 movie. But then
And
also
it's ruby slippers.
and the ruby
And the
slippers,
ruby.
yeah. And then also she's like, but they fell off when I was going over the desert, and
Book,
that's
book,
very
book.
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 Yeah, that's very book. I have actually a Hocus Pocus reference later.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think it'll be a hit.
So the doctor's like, "Hey, Dorothy, come check this out," and he shows her the
Yeah,
electrotherapy
this'll cheer you up.
machine.
Oh my
The
god,
electrotherapy machine looks just like TikTok. Like what?
Yeah,
the
it was
fuck?
giving
It-
face.
It has a
Yeah, face,
terrible
face,
face, and it has a tongue.
Yeah,
I don't know
and
how.
it has to get winded up too.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
good
that's
point.
oh my god, it is just
I was
It
TikTok.
like,
kind
ew,
of
why
is,
does
but
it
it's
get
not like the
that?
TikTok that I know.
No, nor the one who we shall meet.
Yeah.
So Dorothy's like, "Ooh, I don't know about that thing. Does it hurt?" He tells her it won't, and here's the thing: that would have hurt. Electroshock therapy used to always cause broken bones and convulsions prior to the 1950s,
Yeah.
which is when they started like giving people muscle relaxants and putting them to sleep before
Yeah.
they would.
You know,
They still use it today.
yeah,
but
it's
not
interesting
like that.
Yeah.
because he says it's going to be the year 1900 next month. We're on the turn of the millennium, and we are with science and electricity, and he's acting like they fucking landed on the moon.
Yeah, like-
All they did was say, hey, we've been using this literally to kill people
Yeah.
in the electric chair,
and we get
and
off on it.
now we're going to smush up your brain with
Yeah,
it.
now
Like,
we're gonna zap
yeah.
you with it.
Hey, Nikola Tesla, take a seat. I'm gonna have you take several
right?
seats. Sit down.
Yeah. So it is crazy. And on a related note, electroshock therapy can be helpful for many patients in modern day life.
Yep, we're
but
using it. We're
it's not
still using
forced. So that's the thing.
yeah.
That's yeah.
Back then,
And
though, turn your brain to mush.
Lobotomy is quite useful and still used today to like make a woman mind.
Oh my God. Shut up.
So Dorothy looks in this mirror and she sees a little girl there who I assumed was Ozma.
I just wrote Ghost of a Blonde Girl.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wrote girl because I just didn't want to make assumptions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I have in parentheses Ozma
like
4 question
what other
marks?
girl do we know in this universe?
I know.
Like and they communicate through like mirrors and painted pictures and stuff.
Oh
so
my
I
God,
was
I
like,
didn't
Oh,
even,
that's
like really
true.
put that together. That's
Um,
yeah, that does make sense.
then a severe woman in a black dress takes Dorothy's hand and takes her away from On M, and On M says, "Be good." And
Well, Aunt M wasn't supposed to leave. Like, she was never supposed to leave Dorothy there, but then there's like a storm coming in, and she's like, hey, I'll just be back tomorrow. And I'm like, Dorothy didn't pack a bag. Dorothy
Yeah.
didn't do anything. You're leaving her
Also,
here with these
Yeah,
people.
like
I'm sorry.
and when they were leaving the place, like Uncle Henry said, make sure to be back before dark. And he
Yeah.
was talking to both of them.
Yeah, he wasn't telling Dorothy. He was telling fucking Aunt
Yeah, he was
M,
like, make sure you
you're
guys come back.
driving the horse and buggy 10 miles to town. I don't know.
good job, you guys, on paying attention to that because I fully thought Dorothy was getting admitted here, like when they left. So when
When I
On
first
M-
watched it, I didn't think
yeah,
that.
when On M
No.
was like, "Oh, I'll be back tomorrow," I was like, "Oh, she's just going for one night. She just gets electroshock therapy and just goes on home."
No. And Aunt M is sad when she has to leave her. Like, that gave
Yeah,
me,
that
like,
was the one time that I was like,
Yes.
she's human.
I was like,
Yeah.
okay, there's some redemption. She didn't mean for this to happen.
she has a very sweet face there,
Dorothy-
honestly.
She does.
Dorothy being like, "Well, promise you'll bring Toto when you come back."
Yeah.
Bitch.
And Emma's like, I will.
She's like, yeah, sure, if it gets you to shut up.
Let
Yeah.
me cry. Let me cry.
So once Aunt Em leaves, they're quite harsh with Dorothy. And they just kind of march her down to her own little room, and they tell her, you're going to stay here until we come get you. They don't give her any timeline,
And it's
but they tell her she can nap. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh,
How long are you going to be gone?
yeah.
which I just find so funny because napping is Dorothy's thing.
Yeah,
You know,
it is.
so I just thought it was like it just felt like a cute little
It
like.
is.
She's
That's
like,
funny.
"Don't gotta tell me twice."
She's like, oh, I'm a professional napper.
She's in a dangerous situation. She's going to nap.
Exactly.
Yeah. And she will later on, too.
But upon waking, what'd you call her? A little ghost girl?
Little ghost, blonde
Okay.
ghost. It's the ghost of a blonde girl.
Okay. So upon waking, the ghost of a blonde girl is just like in Dorothy's room with the world's smallest jack-o'-lantern.
Yeah, and she says it's Halloween soon.
Bitch, you're crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm here, but I know why you're
Oh,
here.
my
Well, yeah, what a
God.
ghost says, why are you here? And Dorothy's like, I can't sleep. I talk about this place I've been, but no one believes me.
And Dorothy doesn't seem remotely surprised to see Ghost of Blonde Girl with Jack-o'-lantern in her room.
No, but then Ghost Girl has to go. She fucking runs. Like, I have in all caps, Ghost Girl has to go.
Ghost girl goes.
Yeah, and she does. She just runs out of there and just disappears.
GGG.
Yeah.
So Dorothy combs the
yeah,
jack-o'-lantern
thank you.
loudly, and I actually, when that was happening, I literally shouted, "What is she doing?" And you both said, "She's combing it."
As you said that, I was typing, why the fuck is she
Yeah.
combing her hair?
I had Dorothy combs the pumpkin's hair. And she sees a storm outside the window. So this is the storm that Aunt Em, and she, also I don't know if we mentioned, but she'd already seen Aunt Em like out the window of her room, like riding away. So she knows that Aunt Em is gone. But now she sees the storm rolling in. She turns on the light, which is electric, and she seems scared of it, which I think is kind of funny because
like
she
she doesn't
probably
have
is.
electricity
I
at
think she's
home.
not accustomed to electricity.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the way she kind of did it was like, whoa, like I don't know how to use a
She's not
switch.
used to
And then
that.
when she did, it was like, what the fuck? It's
Yeah.
instant light. So she was scared by that.
Imagine that feeling.
I know.
I don't want to. That's
Being
scary.
afraid.
Yeah.
Especially when
Well, like,
electricity is so violent in this movie.
like if
Oh,
you
that's
were to
true.
not have any electricity and then you just walk into a city.
It's very the Mangaboos where they've never seen anything light that was hot, so they jump into the fire and die.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh.
So Dorothy's scared.
Yeah. And during what can only be the middle of the night, a gurney and Nurse Wilson ask Dorothy if she wants to go for a ride.
And when Dorothy doesn't respond, she just glares at her, and then they tie her to the bed.
Just strap her down.
Yeah. And she
I
kind
really hated that because, like, also, I have to say with the movie, I really like how I feel like they did a good job of depicting like Dorothy's character because she asks the questions. She
Yeah.
wants to know why she's being tied down. She wants to know why are you doing this, and then she even made the note that she was like, "Oh well, we don't want you to fall off," and she's like, "Well, I rode the entire way here on a buggy and I didn't fall
Yeah.
off once tied
Yeah.
down."
Yeah.
I was like, "Yes, that's the
Yeah.
Dorothy I know."
Yeah.
She has the sass and also the like, I'll sleep when I'm dead mentality
Yes,
as well.
that's
Yeah.
what it was.
Very
and
also
you know,
good
she
that.
let them tie her down anyway. And then, I mean, when we roll into the doctor's thing, he asks, "Oh, how are you?" I don't like being tied down.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
like,
wish I wasn't
I
tied
wish I weren't
down.
tied.
Yeah, I wish I wasn't tied
Yeah,
down.
which he just fully ignores. Also, the doctor is giving wizard to me, like, but I don't like
Very much.
for like no reason.
Honestly, him just messing with that machine a little bit was giving me like the 1939 version of him messing with the like
Oh, yeah.
things to make the
Oh
faces.
yeah, when he's
knobs
like
and
Yeah.
when he's
stuff.
behind the curtain. He's
It
like,
was giving.
"Oh."
I don't think that they maybe were doing that.
I'm
but
sure they thought about it.
it gave me
I'm
that
sure
a little
someone
bit.
thought of that and was probably
It
like,
was same
oh,
energy.
That's good. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, I'm sure.
And I mean, just like with that Wizard of Oz in the 1939 movie, Dorothy is about to get fully mind fucked. She is about to be electroshocked.
Yeah, everything I have here is exclamation points because it just started moving so fast.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, they have the electrodes. Oh, they're gonna put them on her head. And as I'm typing that, they did it. I was like, they did it. They put it on her head. They
Yeah.
put the electrodes
It's
on her
done.
already.
And
yeah.
just as Kronk is about to pull the
Oh yeah, and he had to
Light.
crank it first. Yeah, but then lightning strikes, saves the day,
Mhm.
and then they hear us screaming far off, which Dorothy had already asked about. Actually, I think when they were rolling her through the hall, she was like, "What's that
Oh,
screaming?"
They were like, "There's no
Yeah.
screaming. You're crazy."
Yeah, and then now there's even more screaming.
She's surrounded by like wailing screams.
yeah, yeah.
And Ozma, little blonde ghost girl, I don't know, is unstrapping Dorothy.
Yeah,
And-
out of nowhere, she's there untying her, and then all the patients are loose because I guess they had a. they
There's a
must have-
riot.
I don't even know. I can't.
Everything
imagine.
was on
is-
electricity.
yeah, the
Yeah, it was
doors-
like all the locks
the
were
doors are
electric.
locked.
Yeah,
Apparently.
they all had like Amazon security locks that all just went out.
They all just popped right open.
This
Yeah.
never would have happened at Alcatraz.
No, so
Um,
they're
Also, little blonde ghost girl's voice is incredibly lilty. Like she was like, "Come on, let's go. My name's Michael."
I know she didn't seem like
Whoa.
nervous or scared at all, like with certain things until I mean, they start getting chased in the woods.
Yeah, I was like,
Then it was a lot of
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
something about a little girl screaming really freaks me out.
Oh, it's scary.
That's
Yeah.
Like
fair.
imagine one doing it right in your face.
I was just like, I don't even know if it was just the acting or what they were doing. Like, what were they doing to make this little girl scream like that?
Yeah.
It was really freaking me out.
So first, I want to get to that. They're running through the halls. This little ghost girl and Dorothy, they hide in this closet among all these coats.
Okay, were they being chased by soldiers?
Well, they were the guards.
Okay, there was like a whole
I just
militia.
said staff.
There
Wait,
was, yeah.
And where you are, is that before or after Nurse Wilson finds them, points a flashlight at them, and goes, "So?"
That's before. Because
I was like, did she say so?
I'm like, flashlights in 1899? Does that seem possible?
Dorothy doesn't even have
The
electricity. at her
battery didn't
house.
exist. I don't think you could have something electric that wasn't plugged into a direct current.
Yeah, they don't have batteries.
I didn't
She
look
had like
into
a,
this at
she had
all.
like a Scooby Doo ass torch in her.
Right? Well, and so, but then later, so then Dorothy and little ghost girl run out of this insane asylum. They run into this crazy storm, and then a bunch of men run out, and they have a couple flashlights too. So
Oh,
they
yeah.
have plentiful flashlights.
So many flashlights.
It doesn't make sense.
This
to me.
place loves electricity. Wait,
Loaded.
that's not even electricity, I guess.
Well, it
That's
would be, but I mean, it's in a battery though. So,
Yeah.
but I don't think they had that back then.
But
We can talk about it.
I don't know. The girls run through the woods. They slide through the mud through the woods. They
And-
scream through the woods. They drown through the woods.
The woman chasing them is moaning like the wind. Like, I don't even fully remember what I wrote that for, but when I wrote it, I know it was the truth because it was like wind just howling through trees. It was very like Dorothy.
It was scary. I was pretty
It was.
scared.
There's some intense
It was
spots.
intense.
That whole
And
scene.
especially
I was
just like not knowing what was going on at all. Like I was like, Jesus Christ,
yeah,
go!
Yeah.
like how, what, who, when.
And then
They chose river danger over scary adult with flashlight.
Yeah, they
danger.
did.
They were like, fuck it. Raging
Dorothy was
river.
like,
yes, yeah.
I'm about to dive in.
okay, let's play mermaids. What color is your hair? What's your magic power? And what does your dad do for work?
That is not the river moment they're having.
No, they're having I think I just inhaled a twig, and it's also mud water.
They're having the impossible with Tom Holland.
Yeah.
and-
Because if we didn't make this clear, they have jumped into a raging river. Like the storm, runoff, flood, I don't know, but they just dive into this river. And the woman, the nurse chasing them, jumps in after
she
them.
jumps into
She
the
did,
river.
with
Yeah.
her big ass dress.
Yeah.
I know.
Yes.
Oh my god, that would be so
How-
hard to swim in.
How
That's gonna kill you. I
That'd
think.
be so
amazing.
hard to swim in.
It would
How
be so
on
it'd be weighted
earth
down.
did she survive to be arrested tomorrow? How did she do that?
Yeah, there's no way. But no, when they were I mean, it was just Dorothy at that point. But when she was going away,
Right.
the lady was just sitting there. What was her name? Miss Wilson or whatever. She was just
Think
sitting
so.
there in her dress, and I was like, "Girl,
That's a big ass dress, girl.
how'd you not get swept away
Look how
either? That
fucking
doesn't make
orange
any
you look.
sense." Also, where did this crate come from?
Oh yeah, because
Okay,
then
this crate.
the crate with Bellina.
Where did Bellina come from?
Oh my god! I was like, "What, Bellina?" I thought Toto was trying to follow them, not
See,
Bellina.
Yeah, and I'm like, we did all this work like with this storyline just so that we could organize it so that Bellina and Dorothy end
See,
up in a crate.
Like
in the
they
water.
didn't
Exactly,
have
it's
to
like-
know each other. She could have found the key, but Toto could have found that
Yeah.
key.
They
Yes.
could have started on the ocean. They could have started with them traveling somewhere else or something
Yeah.
and have this whole mental hospital Dorothy moment be another movie. Because I actually, when the movie started, I was like, oh, this is interesting. This is something that I've been
Yeah.
waiting for, like a weird,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yeah.
everyone doesn't believe that Dorothy went to Oz and they think she's crazy and is it even real, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that would be a good movie, and that's what I've been waiting for. But then,
Then they
mean,
just started
yeah.
doing the books,
Yeah,
and I
and
was
they
like,
just
well,
started-
then I just want to watch
I
that.
was like, well, then just do the books. That's what I would like.
So Dorothy wakes up with Bellina squawking, laying an egg, and speaking English. So like exactly what happens in
Yeah.
the book.
And
Except they already know each other.
and they have traveled across an ocean, presumably. It's kind of unclear because they end up
been in
not
the
in the
river
ocean.
for days until it leads to the ocean.
But there's like
And I
this
mean,
zoom out
she was
moment.
in Kansas. Like, how
Yeah.
quickly is she gonna get to the ocean?
she
I don't
fell
even know
in
if
the
there's a
Kansas
way.
What river?
And she'd have to like go
Okay.
into the Mississippi, I guess.
For a
Oh,
second,
it's
far
yeah.
away.
For a second, I was like, "What fucking rivers run through Kansas?" There's a bunch. I googled it. There's
Oh,
so
really?
many.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, Kansas.
Kansas.
I guess you can get to the ocean easily.
Not
My bad.
easily. It's the middle of the country.
Yeah, I guess that's
Um,
true.
But they are kind of in this pond puddle. I don't know, in the
Yeah.
middle of some desert.
And actually, the desert is running up to this lush forest. So like they're right on the edge of the desert, like 20 feet away. And Dorothy's like, "Oh, like you can talk," because her and Blaine have interacted. And she's like, "We must be in Oz," which frankly is a good conclusion to make, I guess, considering she's been to Oz just the one time.
Oh yeah, and it's a great book reference too, because in the Marvelous Land of Oz, like Dorothy, or I don't know if that's the book actually, but Dorothy is very much like, "Oh, we must be in Oz," and then learn she's an Ev later.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen here, but
Yeah.
so but
No.
it was
I
still
did
kind
write
of a book
somewhere in my
reference.
notes, Ev.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
But they hop along the stones to get to the end of the desert and into Oz.
And there's an eye on the rocks.
Okay, yeah, the
Yeah.
stones keep opening their eyes and not minding their own business.
No,
I
they're
don't-
not.
Scary.
Yeah, they open their eyes, they scowl, and they disappear. And they do finally get to the edge of the desert. Billina says, "Never again." And then they are like, "Okay, we're going to go to the Emerald City and see the Scarecrow because he's the king." Which, of course, they are. That's so Dorothy
Yeah.
to do. Is just like,
She
let's
has a plan.
go to the Emerald City.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep, go to
She's
the
like,
Emerald City.
"Okay, I have an
always
idea.
get home from there.
This
Yeah.
person's talking. This is the desert. Let's, put the two things together: Scarecrow, Emerald, Oz.
Yeah.
I'm
There
gonna
we
walk
go.
in a direction. I don't care what I find in that direction.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
just get to the Emerald City. But Dorothy comes along a lunch pail tree, which obvious book
Familiar.
reference. And she's,
I like the look of these punch because,
I liked them too.
what I was picturing from, I never read the book, but from your descriptions of reading the book, which is a very unique perspective, I might add. I was thinking literally like a metal tin.
Oh.
No, the whole them needing to be red and
So
ripe.
I like that it was a
I
little
didn't
colorful,
picture that
and then it
either.
also had
Yeah.
the leaf around
Yeah.
each side. I was
And-
like,
Yeah.
When
that
she-
is cute.
And when she opens it up, it kind of has a pith around it, like a pomegranate would look, Like, she
Yeah.
has to pull the food items out. It was really cool. I thought that was really clever.
Yeah, I liked
Yeah.
that interpretation.
Something important though is that Dorothy's already seen lunch pail trees. She knows what they are, which means that
Oh,
she is in
yeah.
Oz.
okay.
Because she's like, "Oh yeah, these are everywhere in Oz. I love these things."
Oh, I didn't
Um,
catch that actually.
Yeah, she did because she immediately also once again we have a book Dorothy because this Dorothy grabs 2 lunch pails, one for now and one for later. She is a planner. She will make sure she's going to be taken care of no matter what.
Dorothy's so hungry and so sleepy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But then we cut to some gnomes talking in the walls.
Yeah, they're mad and they're scary, and they're telling the off-screen Majesty she has returned to Oz, and she has a chicken. And the Gnome King, presumably, this off-screen voice is like, "A chicken?" And he's really
Yeah,
mad.
So mad about the chicken.
Yeah.
Then Dorothy and Bellina are walking, and Dorothy comes along her house
Her
in the
first
middle
house.
of the woods. And I loved this because we've talked on the pod about how she when she lands in Munchkinland is probably super rural and in the woods or in the middle of nowhere, unlike in the 1939 movie where it's a town square.
It's giving city. Yeah.
Because we talked about how the Good Witch of the North and those Munchkins come and find her.
Yeah,
in the
they
woods.
heard it, walked over from their houses.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because so they find the original house, and Dorothy's telling Bellina all about him. Bellina's like, "Okay, sure. I don't know if I believe all that," even though she's in the world. But then Dorothy sees the yellow brick road, or what's left of it. So it is very much like the book where she landed. The witch was like, "Hey, the yellow brick road right here just goes to Oz, so follow that." Great. But the road is destroyed. Like a plow has
Yeah.
gone through it. It's all torn up, and things are really about to take a turn, I
Yeah.
think.
Dorothy's got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But the gnomes keep spying through the rocks. The yellow brick is just a mess. And the gnomes are updating the Gnome King on Dorothy's progress. And the Gnome King gives us this fun little line. Oh, no worries. They'll never get past Mombi.
Mombi. Yeah. I have a question. How long does it take to walk from Dorothy's landing point to the Emerald City, would you say?
Well, days.
I would say that.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least 3 days.
What I saw here was 3 minutes.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Next, we're just at the Emerald City.
She trotted what must have been a
Oh yeah, because that was the Emerald City.
yeah. So she comes and she sees these like ruins of a big city.
Uh-huh.
And it's like at first I was like, what the fuck is that?
It's the Palace of Fine
It's-
Arts in San Francisco.
yeah, right, yeah. I was like, okay, like, but no, it's the Emerald City, and it's all like destroyed, and like the buildings are in disrepair, everything's overgrown. But it took her, 20 minutes to walk there. Is the
No,
impression
she got
I
there
got,
so fast.
which does not seem right.
And
she
she was
no canyons.
only with Belina.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just her and
Like,
Belina
it
too.
doesn't
Yeah,
make any sense.
Yeah.
But in the Emerald City, they're looking at all these Ozians turned statue, and they find graffiti saying "Beware the Wheelers."
Mhm.
Dorothy's like, oh, I don't remember those guys.
Bitch, you were here 6 months ago. Like,
Yeah,
Oz moves fast.
Like,
Oz is like, Narnia.
seriously.
But
But then they hear a rusty squeak.
Belina screams. She's like, Dorothy finds the Tin Woodman, Cowardly Lion as statues.
And the Scarecrow.
And
Oh wait,
no,
no, she
not
does.
the
No,
Scarecrow.
no, no.
I had that in my
Just
notes,
the-
but
Then
I've
a,
now realized that's
a
wrong.
monster rolls out and says,
Oh
"Come
my God.
here."
It's absolutely
The
horrifying.
Wheelers are awful.
They
Yeah.
have like the mask face, and then when he flips it away, his actual face is worse.
Yeah, it's like Nugget.
I screamed both times.
They did such a good job with the Wheelers. They
I
are
think so too.
disturbing.
Like the way their like legs and arms and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
and there's so
and they're
many
so
of them.
annoying.
And they
Hate
are.
them.
And the way they scream and shriek to communicate. So then they start chasing. And Belina and Dorothy are running for their literal
And
lives.
just like in the book, Belina's like taking charge and telling Dorothy, like, run here, go
Yeah.
out. Which is, I liked that book homage.
one thing that I only noticed when I was revising my notes, I feel like because the Wheelers like screech and squeal at each other.
Yeah.
I feel like that might be a little like reference to the wheels that Dorothy was on when she was being pushed down the corridors, because those were screeching and screaming. Like I think we even got the zoom ins on them. Yeah, I know. So when as I was like going through my
So you're
notes and
just
organizing,
giving like when I was writing down like certain, especially in the hospital, I was writing down a lot of like evil. I was like, this is giving
Yeah.
evil. This
Uh-huh.
lady's evil. This person's evil. That's evil. And then when we showed up here, I was like feeling that same energy. So
Yeah.
it would make sense.
That
I
makes
I
sense.
think you're right. And honestly, like, so impressed with whoever made this movie with just how quickly they shoved so many things in.
yeah.
And then we're like, okay, now we're in Oz. The key that non-speaking Belina found earlier opens into a wall, and so Dorothy and Belina are in this room
Yeah.
in like the side of a hill. Was it the side of a hill?
No,
just
it was
in
like
the book?
in like some of the ruins,
Okay.
basically, because they're like in the Emerald City.
But they're separated from the Wheelers, and the Wheelers are like,
Yes.
"You stole our lunch pail."
Oh yeah,
Just
we're
like in
gonna
the book.
kill you now.
Yeah.
Also, there's no chickens allowed in Oz. And
The Gnome King wants ya.
Yeah,
Not your chicken though.
and I'm like, who's the Gnome King then? Let's get some information.
Yeah, the Gnome King rules the Wheelers. Confused. But they turn around, find TikTok, so cute.
He is so cute.
Oh my god.
He is Dorothy's
so
height.
round.
He's so round. He's just a little man.
Mhm, his little mustache.
According
Yeah.
to his markings, he already belongs to the Army of Oz, or he
Yeah.
is the Royal
I think
Army
he
of
Oh,
Oz.
yeah.
And I love that.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, I
yes,
think that's
sir.
a great way to slide that in.
Mhm.
Like it's cute.
Even though he's already the Royal Army of Oz, Dorothy still needs to read the instructions. She doesn't know him yet.
Yeah.
And winds TikTok up. So TikTok wakes up and he's like, "Are you Dorothy Gale?"
Yeah, he knows who she is.
Yeah.
Which is important. And he's like, I'm TikTok. I'm the Royal Army of Oz. I got locked in here by the Scarecrow and told to wait for Dorothy.
Wait, so King Scarecrow and not King Pastoria.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, and crazy King Pastoria who killed himself with the key in his pocket.
Oh, and
But-
that's why it washed up on the. Yeah. mhm.
Instead, the loving King Scarecrow locked him up so that he could be found by Dorothy.
Yes,
later.
quite
and then
the difference.
threw
It
the
is a little
threw
different.
the key into outer space so
Yeah,
it would
where
land in
did it-
Kansas.
oh,
Okay.
Did he have
I
the
don't know.
slippers? Maybe.
I have no. Well,
no, because they
Gnome
got
King-
lost.
well,
That's right.
someone
I do
has
just
the
want to say it wasn't King Pastoria. King Pastoria was the King of Oz, but in the book it was King Evardo or Evaldo or whatever.
Oh, that's right, not
Yeah.
Pastoria, Evaldo.
I just wanted to
Wait,
clarify
yeah.
that because otherwise they'll come for us in
Yeah,
the DMs.
please stay out of our DMs.
But yeah, that is an interesting contrast. TikTok was locked away with love so that he could help save everything.
Not by a crazy ruler.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
I mean,
just left
the
him.
Scarecrow is fucking crazy, but yeah.
But yeah, TikTok asks where Belina found the key to save him, and they tell him that they found it in Kansas, and the Scarecrow must have sent it somehow.
But why
is
does she
what
think
TikTok
that?
says.
Manifest-
Why do they
Station.
think that?
Yeah.
Like, how?
So
Okay.
Dorothy is like, hey, just so you know, like, we're being chased by these wheelers. They're horrible and scary. And TikTok's like, oh, don't worry. Like, I'm your obedient servant now. As long as you keep me wound up, I'll protect you.
Very loyal.
Very in the book as well, too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
And he bounces with every step.
Yeah, he marches
he
funny.
is just dun, 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 dun. It's
When
really
the
cute.
foreman bears his spear.
But he opens the door and he's like, "Oh wow, like everything looks like shit out here." Like,
Yeah, poor guy.
he's pretty surprised. Yeah, I don't think he thought this is what it would look like. And one question I had, just in general, where the fuck is Glinda? Why hasn't Glinda swooped in to do something?
Oh my
Like,
God, she's not even.
and she's not
it
even in
just-
this.
Yeah.
But like, she has the power, but the Gnome King apparently has a lot of power too, so that's fine. Just a thought. But
the fact that she's not in the whole thing is what's crazy too, because
Yeah.
it's like at least when
especially at the
Oz-
end.
Yeah.
Glinda could do a lot of help right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The Wheelers get their asses kicked
Yeah.
with a lunch pail, just like in the book.
He spins around like R2D2.
Yeah.
He does the little yeah. And he knocks out all the Wheelers and then he grabs one by the throat. And he says that he can't be sorry or happy, just like in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he likes to point out about how he's very much not living.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah,
I'm
he's
not
really
alive,
about
you
that.
Can't make me feel
Mhm.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he takes one prisoner. We learn the Gnome King turned everyone to stone, and only one person knows where the Scarecrow is, and that's Princess Mombi. Dorothy doesn't remember her.
Yeah. And they're like, well, take us to Mombi. And the Wheeler hates it. He's
Yeah.
screaming, he's crying.
I literally
Yeah.
right here. I hate Wheelers so much.
Yeah, they're
I
gross.
hate
They're
them.
cringe. I hate them.
They're horrible is the last note that I
They're
have on
so
that.
annoying. I hate the
Ugh.
voice. I hate everything.
And TikTok is like, all right, like, and Dorothy's like, okay, let him go, just make him promise to behave. And he's like, you behave, and he like shakes him, and then he goes, and he's like, oh, behave, behave,
You behave.
yeah.
I
and just-
behave.
Okay,
Oh my God.
honestly, in the book, they actually do promise to behave.
yeah, and then they show up
I
at the end,
didn't-
and they do
I
behave.
didn't like that in this
No.
one.
I
was like,
didn't like
oh,
that.
TikTok, go get his ass. go
Yeah,
get his ass,
actually, bring
back.
him back here when you're staying with us.
Yeah, I'd be like, we're actually just gonna kill you.
Yeah.
It's a-
We'll have Mombi kill you.
Yeah, but I just realized it's time for our next cocktail. Our second cocktail of the night is the Mombi number 5. The recipe for which can be found on our Instagram at OzHour Podcast. It is a daiquiri.
Ooh.
All right, slurp.
Mm.
Oh,
Ooh.
Bussy.
I like
That's
that.
5 limes that I cut and juiced
Ooh.
myself.
I can taste
So
that.
that's why my eye's twitching.
That's what my heart is stopping.
So, as we left off, they are at Mombi's palace, or this
With the Emerald
the
Palace?
Emerald Palace, I
Okay.
guess. But yeah, because they go in.
Stone Palace now.
I know, yeah, no emeralds left. Dorothy is like, hello, which echoes. And TikTok comes in a kaboom with every step.
I know he's like,
Yeah,
I was
like
actually, TikTok, stay outside.
yeah. Well, he left dust. Like it's apparently this. No one's walked through here. The carpets are full of dust. Every step that TikTok makes leaves this big dusty footprint on the carpet.
Yeah,
But he knows where he's going.
Lena's like, place is a mess.
Yeah, yeah. TikTok seems to know exactly where Mombi's gonna be. He takes them like up this elevator. It looks like because it looks like an elevator spaceship airlock door closing behind
It's
them.
the elevator from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
It is that
The Johnny
the
Depp one?
triangles. Yeah, yeah, exactly. But they come into this huge room. It's like 3-story vaulted ceilings. Everything is either made of gold, glass, or that's it. It's just gold and glass. Everything.
They find Mombi playing a lute in her throne.
Mombi looks so fucking cool.
She's gorgeous.
Playing that lute. Like she looks
Beautiful.
like this like 18-year-old teen idol from the 80s or something. Like she looks like she's ready for her prom. Her hair looks oh my god, this was in the 80s. Of course that's what she looked like. I didn't even think about that.
Oh
She
yeah.
She looks
So
perfect.
good.
Yeah.
I love the fit too. Like
Yeah.
It is an interesting difference from the book though, because in the book she wears a white dress every day because her face is different every day.
Well, okay, so is this
okay.
when we should say that
Yeah.
Mombi is not just Mombi?
oh
Well, I didn't think
Yeah.
so. When we walked in, I didn't think it was Mombi because when I think of Mombi
Ye
personally,
hag.
I
She's a
think of
hag.
an
Yeah.
old woman.
Yes.
yeah.
So I was like,
Mombi
who
is
the hell
not
is this
looking like
lady?
that.
And then she does the whole like, oh, help me up.
yeah, she
You know, all
yawns.
like that. I'm like, this girl is
That's
like,
Langolier.
yes,
That's
I was already
Langolier.
kind of feeling that. And then of course we walk into the room of
Mombi
heads.
is like, I think I'll put on something more
Appropriate.
Come
Yes.
with me.
Yeah. and then she
Dorothy.
runs off with Dorothy.
Yeah, in that moment I was like, so this is Langolier.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
but
And-
so the Langolier lore was actually really well done. I think she looked how I expect her to look. Her hall of
The
heads
hall,
looked how
yeah,
I
that's
expected.
literally what I pictured.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
she even had the ruby key and everything.
Which we'll get to later.
yeah.
But did we see the ruby key there?
I saw it there. It's in my
Okay.
notes there. Yeah,
I didn't notice it until later, actually.
but it is so well done. I love the hall of heads.
Oh, and the
Like,
way they're
and
all
they
like
all stare.
they're sentient.
They all stare. They don't just sit with their eyes
yeah,
closed.
because
Yeah.
it's
I
like
didn't know
when
that.
I liked the aspect of it that when she's asleep, they're asleep. When she's awake, they're awake. So they
Yeah.
can see
I like
everything.
that too.
It's so
It's really cool.
creepy.
It's
I
very creepy.
fully pictured when we were reading the books that like they were just like mannequin heads
Yeah.
until
Yeah,
she
that's
put
what
them
I
on.
was-
Because remember, I brought up Monkey Bone and how Whoopi
Yeah.
Goldberg has to warm up the
That-
face.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, it seemed like they were like it just seemed like it would be like heads that were like painted there or
yeah.
some sort of like sculpture type of
I
thing, not
thought-
like
more
actual
sculpture.
real life heads.
But they're just watching. They're moving. Dorothy is predictably just like, what the fuck?
Well,
Yeah,
and
because then Mombi takes her head right off. She's gonna
and
choose
she-
number 4.
She goes to head number 4 with dark hair and a short temper. Obviously, homage to head. What was it like 17?
17, I
yeah,
think. Yeah.
And so she puts that head on, and she's like, "Well, what do you think?" And then she immediately says, "Who are you, and what are you doing here?"
Yeah. And can I have your head?
Yeah, she's like, "Come nearer to me." And I think that head number 4 also, mostly the face, I think, but it was giving me like Elvira, you know,
I
Yeah.
see
like
that.
something about it. I think the makeup, maybe. I guess.
Also, when she was saying how she wanted Dorothy's head,
Mm-hmm.
when she said, I want to put you up in the dungeon to wait until your head is ready, is she waiting
Yes.
until Dorothy gets old enough that her
Yes.
head matches her body?
So she's
I
gonna
think
keep
so.
Dorothy alive long enough to be like 32, so that she can wear her head.
Ah,
Which
okay,
I
okay,
think actually
okay.
I liked that.
Yeah.
Because in the book it's like, give me your head, and Dorothy's like, no, and she's like,
Yeah.
then to the tower with you. But it's like, why would you want to wear a
Yeah,
9-year-old's
she's
head?
9.
I know when I'm visualizing it with it being this adult woman and this child, I'm like, well, you don't want a head that doesn't match your body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why do you
It would
wanna wear
look
that,
fucking
freak?
weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
It
So
doesn't
you
make
wait,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then she
I thought that was
does
cool.
there's another cool book moment. The Mombi Langoudier says that she's going to fry Belina for breakfast.
That's
Yeah.
right,
just like in the book. And then TikTok's actions run down when he's like preparing to fight.
he was ready.
Just
Oh,
like-
Belina was
yeah.
already fighting.
Oh, yeah,
She
but it
was
was like,
Yeah. Oh my god. Mombi had her by the legs. She was just she was just flailing her around.
Yeah, that was
but
real.
then
How'd they get that puppet to do all that?
I know. Jim Henson. But after TikTok's moving runs down, which I guess also at this point they've kind of run back to Dorothy tried to run back to the throne room or whatever. So that's
Toward
where all
the
this is
door,
happening.
yeah.
Yeah. And so then Langoudier / Mombi just sprints with Dorothy up the stairs.
Yeah.
Like it is so fast that it looks dangerous. I'm just like, oh my god, they're gonna pull a hamstring.
Yeah.
And she just throws her into this attic room and leaves her there.
Yeah. Dorothy kind of enters the room out a big window. She can see the Gnome King's mountain in the distance, which is very similar to the book. And it seems like this tower is kind of used as like a storage room.
Yeah, just a bunch of
'Cause
old
Dorothy is
furniture.
finding like huge portraits of the Scarecrow, Lion, and Tin Woodman, and they look just like the original illustrations.
They do, yeah.
Which like does not translate well to film, in my opinion.
Nope. It was strange.
No.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I was like, oh god, I really like the old Scarecrow.
Yeah, like how he
Yeah.
looks a
The
little bit like a
1939
person.
one, Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little different. I
And,
like the Tin Woodman isn't so bad to me because he like it looks like he replaced his body with tin. That could look like anything, but the Scarecrow looks fucked
The
up.
Scarecrow's horrifying.
Yeah,
he
his-
looks like he's from an Alter short film.
Yeah, seriously.
Dorothy's wandering around and she finds Jack Pumpkinheads in the tower asking, Mom? Mom?
Yeah.
So I guess Ozma was never Tip.
Well,
In
I
this
mean,
Yeah,
universe.
in this
in our last book,
what's the 80s?
Jack says that he like Ozma is his mother and that he loves her. So
I know, but
Jack
I feel like
catches up.
I feel like Jack's a baby here, though. I feel like this is Jack's first head. You know, if that
It was giving
tracks.
Jack's first head because immediately when he woke up, he was already worried about it spoiling.
He was.
Oh,
you're
yeah.
right.
He
Actually, that's a
doesn't
good
do
point.
that. He doesn't do that
Yeah,
anymore.
he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm afraid it's gonna spoil before I see the world. I
Yeah,
was like,
and if
I
you
did not like his voice.
I hated
Oh,
his voice.
oh.
I hated everything about him.
Okay,
Like,
I thought his voice sounded like the dead brother from Hocus Pocus who comes back at the end.
Oh,
I've actually
Binks
never
the
seen
cat?
Hocus Pocus.
What'd you just say?
You've never seen Hocus Pocus?
It's
We are recording this on September 6th, so we are almost
Yeah.
at Hocus Pocus.
We're gonna have to watch Hocus
Beware.
Pocus.
We'll also watch the second one, which we did watch last year, and it was actually pretty good.
I didn't dislike it at all.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we learned that Mombi gets her head from the headless dancing girls that were outside, which I actually did not somehow notice. I must have
I
been
noticed
typing.
them. It was right
Um,
before she found the like scarecrow and lion statues.
Okay.
It was
I
like
just
a
didn't
room.
pay attention to that because I was like, "What's
Yeah.
that going to
I
be?"
was like,
used
Yeah.
oh,
for?
she's in some place I've never seen before. So, yeah. But we learned Jack's origin story. Mombi decided to test some of her powder of life on Jack, and
Yeah,
then just threw him in the tower.
And it perfectly it perfectly aligned with the book because he
Yeah.
said that his
mother.
mom built him to scare Mombi, and he did scare her, and then she was testing the powder of life that she got from a sorcerer. So
Yeah,
perfect
And
1-to-1.
She throws him in the tower just like she throws him in the stables in the book. Like it's total like recall. Jack tells us that if there's any more of this powder of life, it's in cabinet 31 with Mombi's original head.
And that his mother vanished when Mombi enchanted her, whatever that means.
Whatever that means. And he's even guessing. He's like, maybe she was enchanted.
Yeah. But she was wearing head number 22 when she threw Jack upstairs, and she must not have worn it since because she seems
She
to have
doesn't
forgotten.
remember.
Yeah,
And
she
I'm
was
like,
supposed
is
to
that how
make
it
it-
works? There's a
Yeah.
brain in all these?
Apparently.
I know. Well,
Well, because in the book it said when she wears head 17, she does things that
Yeah,
she
she's,
later
like,
regrets when she's wearing
hot-headed.
different heads.
yeah.
So it's like you
But it's like, does
obviously
she
remember.
altogether forget? What?
Yeah.
Other like, why would you ever change your head? You'd have to leave so many notes for yourself.
Oh, it's so
It's very
complicated.
memento to me.
So all of a sudden, we're sneaking through the palace to find an escape.
Yeah. Jack's hand, I will say, Jack snakes his hand through the door
Oh yeah.
and unlocks it from the outside, and it looks so creepy.
Yeah,
Like
gross.
it's just strange. And then they are prancing through the palace.
Jack asks Dorothy if he can call her mom, even though she's not his mom,
Yeah.
and she accepts eagerly. And I
Yeah,
was
she's
like,
like, I'm a mother.
yeah, she's like, yes, be my baby. No, settle down. Then they find TikTok. They wind him up. TikTok does not seem like he likes Jack at all.
Here's my question. They introduced TikTok to Jack.
Mm-hmm.
Do they not know each other?
Yeah, because
I'm
the
a little
scarecrow knows.
confused.
Oh yeah, because the scarecrow knows TikTok.
Yeah.
And I would assume that TikTok also knows Ozma.
Yeah.
The fact that they haven't interacted with each other yet.
It
like, what is the
confuses me.
world before everyone was turned to stone?
It's a conglomerate. So Scarecrow was the king of Oz.
Does Scarecrow
when-
know Ozma?
No, no one knows she
Okay.
exists.
Okay,
Ozma's
still.
been hidden from
There we go.
everyone.
Okay, there we go.
That's where
Yep.
we are.
Okay,
That's it.
okay, that
That
makes sense.
almost
That's what
now.
got me.
That almost got me mad.
You said conglomerate.
But TikTok honestly shows he's a great leader of the Royal Army of Oz right off the bat. Dorothy goes into the room to like go get the key. For
She says,
the
"Here's
powder
the
of
plan." He
life.
says, "We're about to
Yeah.
execute it."
He was like,
Yeah.
Belina, do that. Jack, do that. Belina, do that. And Jack, do that. And I'll do this. Dorothy goes in to try to sneak the key off of Mombi's sleeping body.
And her body has the ruby key on the wrist. That's when I
Yes.
noticed it. And it's a beautiful key, I will say.
It's gorgeous.
Like,
Yeah,
It's
I
like-
love
I'll take
seeing
one.
I would be
it.
scared sticking it into a lock and be like shatter. Like
Oh
a
my
brick.
Yeah, I would. That would be decoration, not an actual.
Yeah,
Yes.
put that on the wall.
But the gang, they start to build a flying machine.
They're
with
building
head
the
of a
gump. I couldn't believe it. I mean,
did not see that coming out.
Yeah.
like, what did I think they were gonna do in the attic of the castle with all the furniture?
With all the shit.
Yeah, like
Obviously,
what would
they're
they
gonna
possibly
make-
do? Yeah,
yeah.
the gump.
When they brought that head down, is like, what the?
Yeah.
Gump? I was like, all right, here we go. You know what it was kind of giving? Okay, wait, actually, I'll get into this later.
Okay.
So Dorothy does successfully get the key off of Mommy's wrist.
Mm-hmm.
We cut back to TikTok, who just starts speaking nonsense. He's like, little girl, pumpkin head, make chicken fly the coop.
It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, I hated it. And at first, I honestly was like, "I'm missing something." I thought that.
Oh,
I
knew what was
crazy.
going on.
Yeah,
As soon as because I was typing the words he was saying, and then I was like, what the fuck? Like I knew.
that's what I was. Well, my my note is, I think his thoughts have run down because I was still not sure if I was missing something. But all the heads, so we're really switching back and forth here because then all the heads are sleeping. Dorothy's approaching number 31 with the ruby key, and this is the original head. So instead of being glass on the front of the case, it's mirrored. So Dorothy can't see inside for some reason. I guess that must be a vanity thing for Mombi. But she puts the key in, she opens it up, and there's tons of bottles in there around this sleeping head
And
of
what's
like
the head? Whose face is that?
Mombi.
Yes, Mombi shares a face with Nurse Wilson.
Miss Wilson.
Oh yes, that's right. Yeah, that's what I thought.
And she's like reaching for the powder of life in the cabinet, and she knocks something over. Mombi opens her eyes. This was so fucking scary. This whole
Section,
scene, I was like, ah! Like,
I was
make it
very
over.
scared.
I
Yeah.
was screaming.
She
When
said,
she like awoke,
Dorothy girl with like a million demon
and the
voices.
headless like body
Yeah.
awakens, and
Yes.
it's like,
Yeah,
It
Mombi
was the, mash.
zombie.
It was the monster mash.
I feel like no one heard Mombi the zombie.
Sorry,
Oh.
I'm
But
screaming.
I
like
do
that,
like
though.
that. Zombie.
Yeah.
Zombie.
Zombie. You were so out of tune, girl. We're cutting that.
But
The
it's
other
honestly
heads.
horrifying.
The other
heads
are
are
screaming.
they're all just screaming, Dorothy Gale, Dorothy Gale. And the headless Mombi's just running. She's just running through that hallway.
Thank God, little blonde ghost girl shows up.
Oh my
out
God.
of nowhere.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because Dorothy gets lost. Everything's glass, everything's mirrors, everything's
maze.
gold, and she cannot figure out where the door is. And then she turns around, there's a what I would describe, I guess, as a blur in
It's
one of
just,
the mirrors.
some
It's the
Tinkerbell.
blonde little ghost girl, yeah. And then she's like, "Oh, that's the door." So then she goes through there. She's able to find her way up to the attic.
She gets back to her friends. TikTok needs us thinking wound up.
Yeah.
And they do like a little bit of a reference to the 1939 movie because when Dorothy's like, oh, his thinking needs winding up. I think it's TikTok who's like, how can he talk if he can't think? And Dorothy's like, it happens to people all the time.
Yeah.
And that's a familiar joke.
It is. Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
1939.
plenty of people without brains do an awful lot of talking.
Yeah.
But they all talk about how the powder needs to be sprinkled. Sprinkle his head so he can see where he's going. Sprinkle the wings so he can move them.
But you
that
know
was
what?
very just like the book.
They don't need to worry about that because Dorothy is sprinkling this like it grows on trees.
Yeah, she
She's
was
just-
jumping that shit like
yeah,
they have
it was
like
everywhere.
stocked up
I'll
in
tell
the
you what,
closet.
It's the last
The
of it.
floor of that attic is alive to this day. Like there was so much
oh my
wasted.
god!
Oh my god, yeah, it was all over. But so then the Gump is there. Obviously, he is huge and green. The head of him, I mean, and he comes to life
And
after
Dorothy
the
says
magic
spell,
words.
Piaf,
Piaf, weach, piaf.
Same from the book.
And the Gump wakes up, and to me, it was very happy birthday.
Oh, so much
Why
that.
is his voice like
I'm sorry,
that?
but like from what I have, my perspective of you guys telling me what the Gump is like, that's what I pictured.
That makes
Really?
sense. It was a,
He-
I
that's
pictured
good.
very much like, hey, you guys.
He looked more or less right, but the book did say like he had like this squeaky, obnoxious voice, and so I thought he was more like, "Kill me, kill me."
Yeah, I could see that too.
So Mombi barges into the room. They're like, "Nope, out the window."
Yeah, they leave the attic, but Jack is still fucking standing
He
around.
grabs onto the Gump and is just flying through the sky, actually hurtling toward the ground right off the bat.
Well, yeah,
because
they-
the Gump does not have a
Well,
successful flight.
They break through a stone banister on the balcony, I guess.
I think
and
there was
then-
glass there.
There was probably glass, and on the other side, though, there was like a banister.
Oh, I see. Oh, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
they break through it, and they're headed straight for the ground. And Mombi's just, she's just laughing at
She
them.
thinks they're all going to be crushed.
Yeah, and then they go,
Yeah.
and they pull up and they fly away, and then Mombi's super pissed.
Yeah.
That whole escape was kind of giving me in a weird way, like them escaping with the sawhorse with the wooden wings.
Yeah.
that's interesting.
In
The
the-
gargoyle wings.
The gargoyle
Yeah.
On
wings.
Jim. On Jim.
Very.
Yeah, oh no, on Jim. That's
Yeah,
right,
yeah,
not the
you're right, not the
sawhorse. Yeah.
Wooden wings, normal horse, meat horse.
yeah, meat horse, wooden
Meat
wings.
horse, wooden wings. You know what? I think I'm going to get another tattoo. So then, Mombi sends the Wheelers, who were just like sleeping on the steps of the palace like dogs. She sends them off after the escapees. So they're just like following this flying thing.
I know.
Yeah.
I thought this whole chase scene was going to be something more.
Yeah, it
Well, me
kind of it was
too.
weird. But also I thought that the Wheelers didn't like Mombi. When that one Wheeler led them to Mombi, he was like, "Let
was
me
terrified.
go. I want to go. Let me leave." And now they're all just sleeping on the palace
Well,
steps
maybe
waiting
he
for
was scared of
instructions.
having like showing Dorothy where Mombi is.
Oh, fair. So they're chasing, and the Gump talks about how the last thing he remembers is walking through the forest and hearing a shot. That's just like in the book.
Just the book. But he also says that he doesn't feel very well put together. And they're like, well, yeah, we had to do that pretty quick, huh? But so that's also like the book. But it's very the book. I mean, it is too dark to see. They don't know where they're going. They're like, okay, we just have to keep flying until morning. Like,
Yeah.
that's it.
No, this whole section was very the book because there's like Dorothy, like he's like, "What am I?" And Dorothy's like, "You're just a thing with a Gump's head. Like you're the thing. Like you're not the Gump. You're the thing." Like that was very from the book. And also they ask him to turn around, and he's like, "I don't
He's
think
like-
I can."
He's like, oh, I don't know
Yeah.
about that.
He almost
He's
killed. He
not
almost
very
killed them all
confident.
when he tried it in the book.
Yeah. He almost killed him just leaving that balcony. So eventually, they do all want to get to the King's Castle, or the Gnome King's Castle. So they have that in their minds. And Dorothy does one of her talents, and she falls asleep in a completely insane and dangerous situation.
Ridiculous.
She falls right to sleep, and Jack Pumpkinhead says, "Good night, Mom."
So Mombi's back at the palace playing the lute.
Yep, she's looting it up in this huge
And
gown.
she sees this ghost thing traipsing around in the mirror.
And Aurora appears.
And Mombi's like, Ozma, nobody's going to help you. Nobody knows where you are. Nobody left even knows who you are. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What's
I
going
was like,
on?
okay. But we do know now it's Ozma. We've confirmed that it is Ozma living
Not
in the
little
mirrors.
ghost girl anymore.
Or something. Yeah, not little ghost girl. This is Ozma.
Now the Wheelers, they're following the Gump.
They're booking it
The
through the
Gump
forest.
goes over the deadly desert, and a few of the Wheelers fall into the sand and disintegrate.
Yeah, they just turn. It's gross.
Oh my
Straight
god.
in
It
the
was
sand.
so disturbing. This movie is rated PG, and up in the left-hand side of the screen where it said rated PG, it said for references to tobacco use.
Yeah.
What?
There's
oh,
a movie.
there
there's
is
a
actually
pipe.
a couple.
Yeah,
yeah.
but that's
This
it.
movie is so freaking disturbing, and it's rated PG because the Gnome King smokes a pipe sometimes.
Yeah.
That's insane.
That is pretty insane.
I just watched these guys melt. So anyway, the flying machine is in the sky, and the Gump is just beginning to fall apart.
Yeah, we get a zoom in on some
On
loosening
all the
ropes.
ropes.
Yeah,
That
there's
was
many
scary.
ropes.
The ropes are going.
And they're so high up. They were so high up.
They'd have to be.
Yeah, they're definitely high up. Hmm
Like they weren't high up like a bird or a
They were like in the
dragonfly.
clouds.
They were
Hmm
7,000 feet.
I will say it happened fast though, because I have the note of they're zooming on the knots, they're loosening, and then there's some turbulence, and then the ropes just break. Like they're
Yeah.
breaking. They start to just come
Yeah.
apart.
And Jack
Oh my
Pumpkinhead's
God.
head.
Poor little Jack.
This is a lot of exclamation points for
Poor
me in the
little
notes.
Jack.
Here it goes. Jack's head falling straight out of the flying machine toward the
Yeah.
sand of the deadly
His head
desert.
falls off, and the Gump
That
tries
made me
to turn.
like scream actually, because I was like, "Wait,
Yeah.
what?" 'Cause
Yeah.
I didn't actually
Crazy.
realize that his head was falling at first
Well,
because
it's like
it was
his whole
so.
body was kind of falling at first. so
Well,
it's
yeah, his
confusing.
body was down,
Because-
and then his head was just, and I think it was just the editing of it all.
Yeah,
It was just like kind of sitting there on the screen.
it
but
looks
it
floating.
Was, it looked like it was floating, and I was like, "Wait, what's going on?" And then I realized, "Oh no, his head is falling. Oh no, what are they gonna do about this?"
Honestly,
Well, the good news is,
thankfully, the head is falling for like what seems to be an eternity.
Yeah.
'Cause they
I
have
guess because
plenty
they're
of-
so high up.
Yeah, they have plenty of time to convince the Gump to turn
At
around.
least it's not heavy.
Go
Maybe
back
because it's so
down.
light, it's not falling as
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah,
I mean it's
that's
hollow, so maybe the
well-
air's catching in it, you know, like a parachute.
Yeah.
Because I will say, what I wrote is that Dorothy gets the head eventually,
She catches it in midair.
showing that physics has no place in a fairyland because that head fell off at the speed of gravity. They turned the Gump around, dove down, and caught up with it.
Yeah.
But the
somehow.
Gump wasn't just falling, right?
No, yeah,
Like,
he had to have
he's
been
controlling himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was flying
So
forcibly
he's not
downward.
moving at the speed
Yeah.
of gravity.
So they would have all died at this point because now
Well, yeah. The
everything
Gump
falls apart.
Oh,
snaps.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what it
In
is.
half.
Everything falls apart, and that's why they're falling. And Jack's like, sorry, Mom. And Dorothy's like, it's all right, Jack. Can't be helped now. Which is like very book Dorothy. She's
Yeah.
like, that's fine. I'm just going to be dead for eternity. But they crash land on the side of a mountain
Yeah.
where they can't go up, they can't go down.
And
Very like the book.
the only reason that Dorothy survives is because the couch the Gump is made of falls first, she falls on it, and then everyone else is already dead, and they all just land.
Yeah. Also,
And
Yeah,
they're still
because
not
Jack's
alive.
head lands on him like upside down or
it,
something.
Oh,
it stabs
yeah.
into itself,
Oh,
which is like, why I'm like,
Yeah, the way
Belina-
that everyone
doesn't
fell
Belina
was
end
so
up in that head? Do we see her
She
get
does
in
later.
there?
I think she
Okay.
gets in it because it's cold.
You know, because I didn't notice. I mean, this definitely jumps ahead, but
No, it's okay.
I didn't notice what happened to Belina at that point,
I-
where
yeah.
when the rocks noticed them land there and went to tell the Gnome King.
I was very much like, where is she? And then
yeah,
I
and
saw
they were
her
like,
later,
I had
no
and I
to-
was like,
chicken.
oh, okay.
They
Yeah.
said no
Yes.
chicken. I was like, oh,
Oh, where is she?
but there was a chicken there.
So
Um,
there are gnomes at this point watching them. They
Yeah.
like their
Yeah.
faces appear, and then they go to tell the Gnome King, "Hey, like," and the Gnome King's like, "What the fuck were those noises?" And they're like, "Hey, like, it looks like Dorothy's here, but like, they have a small army, and she's more powerful than we thought." And the Gnome King's like, okay, what about the chicken? And they're like, oh, no chicken.
Chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at this
And
point,
I see where that's going.
Belina is hiding in Jack's head. Like, I found that out at this point watching it. I didn't see her hop in that head, but he's in
Yeah.
there. She's in
Okay.
there, I mean.
Yeah. So the Gnome King kind of takes the form of like the same like stop motion wall goblins that we've
Yeah.
been seeing the gnomes as this whole time. And he appears and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And Dorothy's like, we'd like the Scarecrow to be released, please."
And he's like, what if I won't give him to
Which is
ya?
very true to fashion for me for the Gnome King in the
Yeah.
book. Like that's how he is. He's like, "Oh, you want the Scarecrow back? What if I don't?"
Yeah.
Like he wants to see what you're willing
He
to
messes
give.
around.
He
yeah.
does mess around.
Mhm.
But
And
Dorothy's
he
like,
does.
"Well, we'll conquer you and force you," which that's an Ozma line.
Yeah, but
in the
also from the
book.
book, so that's cool.
Yeah.
But the
But-
Gnome King laughs them to death. And then he coughs an avalanche down on them, and then the earth opens up and swallows them.
And
Yeah.
as
It's so scary.
Okay, and then this whole scene of her falling into the earth
Yeah.
and falling down, I was like, okay, so we've also read the fourth book.
Right. That's a
Yeah.
good point. Because she is falling for what I would say would be like 30 seconds.
It was giving
It-
fourth book.
I
It
didn't
is.
think about that, but it was very Dorothy and the Wizard and Oz. Like how
Yeah.
she's just falling slowly.
I loved this
Um,
scene though, because like she's falling between these like filaments and layers of rock and gem.
It's
Like
cool.
it's
Mhm.
just
And the
it
Gnome
looks
King-
so cool.
The Gnome King is making an excellent point.
He is making
while
sense.
she's falling, because he's like, "Oh, wait, you're saying that I've stolen the Scarecrow King? What about all these gems and emeralds? Like, the Emerald City is literally built up with material from my land
Yeah.
that you guys have stolen."
We make these
Yeah.
treasures,
So-
you steal them, I've taken them back.
But that was her whole. It was like, well,
yeah.
the Scarecrow wasn't king
Yeah.
when that
And
happened.
I don't agree with that logic,
Okay.
actually. But we're
Wait.
not there yet.
So Dorothy slides like
Directly into the Scarecrow's
into a
arms.
stair. Yeah, he catches her, and it's horrifying because I didn't expect the Scarecrow to be
No,
there when
and
she got
he
there.
is scary.
He's scary. It's really scary.
And then he immediately vanishes
Yeah,
right
light
after catching
flashes
her.
and he's
I
gone.
know.
And I was
Dorothy's
like,
like,
what the
"Hey."
fuck?
Dorothy's like, "Where'd he go?" And then Gnome King's like, "Oh, I've transformed the Scarecrow into a beautiful and amusing ornament." And I was like, "Oh, so that's what this movie is."
Yeah.
I know this story.
Yeah. Also, though,
That's what
he
we're doing.
he had forgotten that the Scarecrow was even there. Like he literally was like, "Oh yeah, I forgot. Like I was here. I was gonna change him into an ornament, but I just fully forgot. And now you're here." And does that mean that Dorothy's just gonna die there? Is he gonna forget about
Yeah,
her?
he's gonna forget
and
about
in
her
10
now?
days, she'll be dead because she actually has to eat and breathe.
Well, probably not, because she's screaming and crying in a way that the Scarecrow never did.
Oh my
Because
god!
like Anna was saying, like she's like, "He never stole any emeralds. They were there when he came.
he never
Mhm.
stole.
It's like,
and I'm like, Dorothy,
okay,
calm down. My
Dorothy,
god.
read a book about the story of America. Okay, like it's just because you were there, it was there when you came, doesn't mean it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
But yeah, I would argue like if the Gnome King was like, "Hey, I want my rocks back," the Scarecrow should have
Give
been
him back.
like, "Oh yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Here's your rocks back." But he wanted his pretty kingdom. But the Gnome King has this hideous rock hand that comes out of the wall, and he
Yeah,
pats Dorothy
he
on the
gropes
back.
It's huge. It's
Oh, I
crazy.
hated that hand. I hated
Yeah,
that
that was
hand.
so
Yeah.
gross. And he's like, "Oh, well, I didn't realize he meant that much to you, Dorothy. I have just the thing to cheer you up." And then all of her friends fall.
Yeah,
into the
everyone who she was with, the Gumphead, Jack, the fucking TikTok, and Belina, all just, well, Belina's inside of Jack's head. They just roll down in.
Yeah, and we all know where this is going. The Gnome King challenges Dorothy to a game in exchange for the Scarecrow's release.
But they have to risk something.
Yeah.
He doesn't say what.
We flash back to the Wheelers and Mombi, who tell her that Dorothy has made it to the Gnome King. And Mombi is like, "Oh, really? Let's go." And she's on her way.
Because she's like, we have to tell the Gnome King there's a fucking chicken. Like, are you guys crazy? You didn't catch them? There's a chicken with them.
Yeah.
So they're on the road. Flashback to the Gnome King.
He presents the exact same game as he does in the book. Touch the right items, say Oz, the Scarecrow will be restored to his original shape. After a long pause, Dorothy accepts the challenge, not a question asked.
Yeah. They review the options and realize there's no options. And then a bunch of hands ripple across the wall,
That was cool.
pull open
That was
a door.
really cool,
That was
actually.
cool. I loved that. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That
It
was
was
sick.
yeah. And then the Gnome King is like, okay, why doesn't the sofa go first? And I'm like, that's just so demeaning.
I'm
for
like,
the-
okay,
for the
so
I
you're
know.
you're telling me the Gump actually gets to be a character now? Because in the books, he hardly mattered, and now he actually gets to go in and make a guess, and we're just gonna call him the sofa, and
I
he goes
know.
first because we know what happens to who goes first.
And he was already like the Gump was already like, I'm not trying to be alive.
Yeah.
I wish I was never here. Like, why am
Yeah.
I even doing this? He doesn't even want to do it. He was like, I don't even have any hands.
No,
yeah, he was
literally.
like, use your
He can-
antlers.
yeah, use your antlers, and he can hardly even walk. Like watching him walk into that room was like so painful. He's like,
Yeah, not good.
Seemed difficult.
But then the Gnome King's like, well, while your friend guesses, why don't I serve you some hot
Yeah.
melted silver and limestone pie?
Yeah, it's very the book. He gives refreshments. Dorothy's like holding the silver, like a cup full of molten silver, and he's like, "Oh, it's limestone pie and silver." And she's like, "Okay." And she's
She
like,
loves
puts
it.
the
Puts
silver
She
down.
likes it.
down.
She
She put
likes
that
it.
silver
She
down.
likes the
though.
pie, but she puts the silver down. And
She was
I'm
not
like,
there for the
"Isn't that hot?"
Yeah.
But then TikTok is like, so when you say there's a risk, like, what are we talking about? Then this huge lightning bolt effect happens. It crashes. Everyone falls over. The Gnome King claps, I think, and says, next.
Just like in the book.
Yeah. TikTok has been knocked over on his back like a turtle and is saying, pick me up.
Pick me
pick
up,
me
pick
Oh
up.
my
me up,
god,
Pick me up.
I
me up.
love the pick me up moment.
Yeah.
I was like, that's of course. Like, I feel like that's not even him saying that. I feel like like
Oh my
I
God.
feel like
You know,
it's
like-
like a setting.
yeah, like when a
Yeah.
radiator knocks over and it's
Yeah.
like, eh.
Oh my God.
Like
yeah.
this whole place is gonna
Yeah.
burn if you don't pick
Exactly.
me up.
Yeah.
Like if TikTok falls over, like he just immediately like
It's actually
brain
a safety
off,
hazard.
pick me
It's
up,
so
pick me
funny.
up.
And then
Um,
Jack obliges, thank God.
Yeah, and you
Yep.
know, it's just once again these two nonstop. The thing is, like the Scarecrow, I don't even feel like has that much of a character, so much. But it's just the fact that they talk about not eating, not drinking, and all these types of things. Or not, sorry, not the Scarecrow.
well,
I meant
Jack,
Jack.
the Gump and TikTok like are all like that.
And
you
they
know?
just all just talk about. That's all they talk about.
That's all they've got.
Yeah. Some L. Frank Baum scholars. wrote
Yeah,
this
they were
movie.
like, we're gonna bring up a bunch about how they feel like they're they're like, I'm not alive.
But
Yeah,
they realize
none
the
of them.
Gump has been turned into an ornament, and Dorothy's like,
nickname.
"Hey, no fair! You didn't tell us that."
Yeah, they're like, wait, what the fuck? You
Yeah.
didn't say that.
Gnome King's like, "Didn't ask." So here are your options: you can go to the furnace, or you can keep playing the game. And they're like,
Which
"Well,
one?
Yeah.
geez,
Opens up this sort of inferno for them.
Yeah,
And they're
it's
like,
fucking
yeah, I guess
terrifying.
we'll go.
guess we'll keep playing the game."
So they send
So-
in Jack Pumpkinhead next.
Yeah. Jack's like, being an ornament is going to be the hardest for you, Dorothy, because you're more alive than any of us.
Jack Pumpkinhead body horror.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he decides to go. Belina's in his head, and they're being super secretive about her presence, which I really don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand why no one said, well, hey, wait, does Belina get a
'Cause
chance to
when
pick?
Dorothy's saying goodbye to them, she's like, "Bye, Jack," and "Bye, Belina." Like it's like you know that she needs to be kept a secret. Why?
Yeah, like
That's
you do.
interesting.
Mhm.
Maybe we missed
Yeah.
something.
So they go in. Mombi is racing through the underground caves on a chariot.
She's whipping these wheelers. They're on the
Yeah,
Underground
yeah.
Railroad. Like, I mean, seriously.
Then back in the Gnome King's lair, boom, flash happens. Gnome King says next.
Yeah.
TikTok goes next. Now, the Gnome King is all of a sudden like an actual man sitting in a chair.
Yeah, he's getting.
Oh, yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah.
the moment
It's
in
like,
my
what
notes.
the fuck?
I have the Gnome King is getting more and more real. He went from this CGI claymation
Just like a
to
weird.
a man with prosthetics, and now he's a man with makeup smoking a pipe.
He
Uh-huh.
looks like the ghost of Christmas fucking past.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, you're right. He does. He does. He looks exactly like the ghost of Christmas. Wait, past?
Ghost of
Yeah,
Ghost
past.
of Christmas
He's the
Past,
good
yeah.
one.
The jolly one.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's super creepy and super real all of a sudden.
Mhm. Just
Um,
sitting in his stone chair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What are you doing here, Dorothy?" And Dorothy's like, I told you I came for the scarecrow.
Our third and final cocktail of the night is called the King's Heels. And we'll take our slurp now.
I love that name. Ooh.
Watermelon.
I have to say, these were all very yummy cocktails tonight.
Thank
you did a
God.
very good
Thank you. That is good. And the reason that it's called the King's Heels is because where we left off, the Gnome King was asking, did you come here for the scarecrow or maybe for these? And then he pulls his little stone robe aside and puts out these two little heels, the ruby slippers.
I have to say, in that moment, I fully gasped.
Yeah.
And also, it made me be like, okay, so the Gnome Queen, the Gnome Queen,
Honestly.
the Gnome King is queer-coded.
Yeah, seriously.
He was feeling real cute.
He kicks his
Yeah.
little feet and all. It's crazy. And he's like, yeah, remember how they fell out of the sky and you were just so eager to get home? Well, they're mine now. And it made it possible for me to conquer the Emerald City. And I'm like,
That's how
whoa.
powerful those ruby slippers are.
Well, it makes me fucking wonder what their powers are, to be honest.
Yeah, he has
But-
those instead of the magic belt, and we know they're quite powerful.
yeah, the
Yeah.
magic belt apparently is nothing here.
One
Yeah,
of
it
the
doesn't
Gnome
exist.
King's minions tells him that TikTok's action has run down. And the Gnome King does what he does in the book. He tells Dorothy to go in and go wind him up. And then once he's all wound up, they can stay in there and she can make her guess after he runs out of guesses.
Yeah. And he is just loving these slippers. Every other scene is just him
Kicking.
kicking them and like crossing them over. It's crazy.
That's how I feel when I'm in heels. I'm like,
Yeah, that's right. But I don't really understand why this happens. But the Gnome King does offer to send Dorothy home. And he's like, I'll even make it so you don't think of Oz ever again.
Yeah, but
He
yeah,
even-
it is kind of a throwaway moment because Dorothy's just like, nope, friendship is more important.
Yeah.
And
he-
goes in to look for the
He does
knickknacks.
say, there's no place like home. So there's that. Other than that, that did nothing. And then Dorothy just, walks in.
And the inside is just like I would have thought. It's beautiful. There's too many
Yeah.
treasures to count.
If anything, there aren't enough treasures, I would say. There are so many treasures.
that was also a whole other
There's
thing
some
that made
treasures.
me be like, the Gnome King is, I'm sorry, is queer coded because first off, he has this room just that's absolutely beautiful
my
with
colorful,
all
shiny
yeah,
stuff.
like absolute, like he decorated that himself,
And
I
it's
know he
immaculately
did.
organized. Yeah. There's something there, actually. It all is kind of coming together for me now. But Dorothy is like I will say, her reaction isn't, wow, this is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen with ghostly green light coming from everything. It was more, hello?
Yeah,
it
seriously.
Yeah.
But she finally finds TikTok. Turns out TikTok's just pretending to need winding so that, they can plan.
He's like, hey, I have an idea. And I'm like, this is the TikTok we know and love. Like, great idea.
Smart.
Yeah. Watch me make my final guess, and then once you see what I turn into, turn me back, we'll guess together.
We can go from there, maybe
Makes
figure
sense.
out a pattern.
And then there's like what almost is like, it is a sweet moment. It's almost like sad moment because TikTok cries this green fluid.
Green goop.
And I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
but wait, you're supposed to not have feelings because you're a machine. Like,
Yeah, you're not
you've kind of been
alive.
TikTok, but you're not.
You've been saying that this entire time.
And all that really happens is Dorothy just reassures him. She's like, oh, it'll be fine.
There was like a long moment of silence too, where they were just like holding each other.
Yeah, it was pretty
Yeah.
intense.
I was like, I feel like if you didn't read the books or have that like I don't know, some sort of character arc for this guy, it's like,
Yeah.
Where's it coming from?
Why?
Where is it coming
They don't
Why
know
did
each
they
other.
act? Why are they acting like this?
They've been in like a total of 3 rooms together.
Yeah.
Like, they don't know each other. But TikTok makes his guess, the lights flash, and Dorothy can't tell what he's been
Yeah.
turned into or where he went.
She missed it. Can't blame her.
At the same time, Mombi is making it to the Gnome King's mountain and orders one
yeah.
of his minions. She's like, hey, open up and tell him it's important.
Yeah.
So they know each other.
Yes. And then we flash back, and Dorothy she's alone now. It's her first guess. She touches this big, what I thought was an urn. It was like a marble vase kind of deal. And she says Oz, and it's completely random. I'm like, why the fuck did you choose that, Dorothy? Like, I know in the book, she literally decides there's no way to choose. I should just choose randomly. So, okay, sure. It's very book.
Yeah. Then we cut back to like something that has to just be for this movie. Mombi and the Gnome King's like weird like sub-dom thing where like
Yeah, where
she
he's like,
bows
lower.
very low.
Lower.
Yeah, he's like,
She just
lower.
like she lays face down on the ground for like 3 full minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
I loved it. Yeah. Lower. Lower. She's just like, okay. And then she's planking on the ground.
Yeah.
Then Dorothy makes her second guess.
She wastes another goddamn guess just on nothing in particular.
Now, Mombi is warning the Gnome King that Dorothy is on her way there, and we learn she's already here, and you were supposed to deliver her to me. These two were in cahoots.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
Well, not very good cahoots because, I mean, it seemed like Mombi had a whole other plan for Dorothy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were going to keep her for 50
Yeah, you're
years.
gonna keep her until she fit for your body. Like, you dumb bitch.
And then we flash back to Dorothy, who's spinning around with her eyes closed.
Just like in the book.
Yes, and she reaches out, and then we flash back, and Mombi's like, oh, like, why don't you just transform them right away? And the king's like, it's just more fun this way, which is exactly what he says in the
Yeah,
book.
Yeah.
all fun and games.
But Mombi is like, okay, bad plan. Like, what if she guesses correctly and then she learns about Ozma? And the Gnome King's like, did you let Ozma escape too?
I forgot to even put that down.
Yeah.
Because, like, what?
But he reassures himself that soon no one will remember Ozma, and then he will be completely human again.
Yeah, which...
So that's why he's not a stop motion wall anymore.
Yeah, okay. Everyone who gets turned into an ornament, the knowledge of Oz goes away. He's becoming a person. But what? Who told him that? Who did that to him?
yeah, how was
Like,
he able
what's
to
the magic?
figure that out?
But it also explains why earlier he was like, hey, Dorothy, I'll send you home and I'll just make you forget about Oz altogether. Because, okay, that just helps him out. I mean, it's the same, except he doesn't
Well,
have
he
an
gets rid
ornament.
of her and then gets all the Oz people to turn to stone anyway.
Exactly.
And then
Yeah,
all of a
then
sudden
he's
he's
done.
a human.
Difference doesn't make.
Yeah.
So from spinning around and touching something at random, Dorothy selects a giant green emerald
Yeah.
and says Oz. Bam, it's the scarecrow.
Well, didn't she pick the other weird item, but then opened her eyes and saw the emerald and was like, actually, I'll pick this.
Oh, I didn't notice
Okay,
that.
That's what I thought she did,
She
right?
did grope something else next
Yeah,
to
it was like a weird man statue thing,
Yeah,
and then
and
she
I was-
opened her eyes and was like, and then saw the emerald and was like, well, maybe I'll do that instead.
Yeah. I don't...
That makes
Huge
more
emerald.
sense.
I believe that because I saw her like grope the other thing and then like change to the emerald for like what I
'Cause
thought
she
was no
almost
reason.
grabbed
But if she
the
opened her eyes,
emeralds.
yeah, because she approached it, she was
But
so
she like
close.
knocked it over or something.
Yeah, she did. She did knock
Yeah.
it over.
So instead, like unlike in the book where Belina overhears that all of the Ozians
See, I wrote
are
in my,
green things,
I literally wrote in my notes. I was like, okay, so no one knows that Belina's here, so she's about to like. I was
I thought-
already writing in my notes how she's gonna listen to.
they could
Mombi.
have done it.
I was like, she's gonna listen to Mom, but then I didn't realize she was in the head of the pumpkin, so
Yeah.
she would have already been
Yeah.
turned to stone.
I
Technically,
thought that Belina was gonna go "Burp," and like fly down from a shelf. I
yeah,
thought,
and then be
that's what
like,
I thought.
actually, it's my turn.
They-
Let me
which
go.
means that when Jack Pumpkinhead got turned into an ornament, Belina was turned with him.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But that's where everything goes so quickly because then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, oh, we have the scarecrow. Oh, I just realized he's green.
yeah.
Everything's
Yeah,
green.
Without Belina sleeping under the throne and overhearing that conversation, Dorothy realizes it all by herself.
Yeah,
So they
great.
rescue the Gump. Then
And the Gnome King is turning Rocky again.
Yeah,
he's
he's
back to
becoming a
man with
wall.
prosthetic. Like, yeah, he's turning back into the wall.
he locks Mombi in a cage for letting Dorothy escape. The mountains start shaking.
yeah, he's-
Dorothy, the Gump, the Scarecrow, freaking out. Stuff is falling around them.
And the Scarecrow, this is a critique of the actor playing the Scarecrow. He's clowning. His arms are just like, whoa. I don't know.
Jim Henson's son.
He's doing a strange job of doing acting.
King of
I don't buy the
Puppets.
physical
Well,
comedy.
the Prince of Puppets, I guess. The mountain starts shaking. The Gnome King appears in the treasure room, and he's screaming. He's like, "Stop!"
Everything turns red.
Stop.
There's an earthquake. It is actually so scary. Also, it's just so
It
intense.
is. Well, everything's crashed. The rocks
Yeah.
are
And
crashing down in front of them.
He's screaming that he's tired of games, as if he didn't start this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's like
You
you could have
started
just
this.
turned them all to stone, and then everything would have been. You would have been a man. You would have been a man
Yeah.
because you would have turned all these people into stone, and it would have been done for.
Yeah.
But you decided to play your game. You decided to yell at Mombi, and decided to blame everyone else for your fucking stupid little game you try to play.
Yeah, he's an ineffective villain.
He's
Yeah, he really is.
going
I
so
liked him
insane.
better in the book.
He
Yeah,
was smarter in the book.
He was smarter in the book.
He's going so insane. He starts trying to pull the Gump away so he can eat it, and they just like rip the Gump's head off. They're like, "No, that's his living part. Pull
Yeah,
it away."
sorry.
Well, a green vase almost falls.
Oh, I didn't notice
In this
that.
oh
moment.
yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
is that
Scare-
when it lands on his head?
The Scarecrow like
Well,
has
the
to do like
Scarecrow
a
catches it.
dive, and he grabs. He's like, "I
Oh.
got it!" And at this point, yeah, the Gnome King's head is this huge demonic thing. It's bigger than all of them. It's fiery, and he is yelling, "Stop!" I don't know who that green vase turns into, though.
We learn in the end.
It turned.
Okay.
Or does it happen here?
No, it did. It did happen. It turned into
Jack Pumpkinhead.
Jack Pumpkinhead.
Okay.
Oh, there we go.
Exactly. And so then the Gump's body got taken up.
Yeah. So
eaten,
then he grabs.
but then
and
his
eats.
head was fine.
They're just
and then he
running
goes
with it.
and then the fucking Scarecrow grabs the vase. They turn him into Jack Pumpkinhead, and then all of a sudden the Gnome King grabs Jack Pumpkinhead and is ready to eat him.
Yes.
Yes,
This
yeah.
scares Belina so much she lays an egg.
Also, in this moment, the gnomes are coming out everywhere. The gnomes
Oh,
are,
yeah.
are
Just
growing
like-
out
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
it's like-
walls.
They're
These
demons.
creepy
They
little
are
like
demons.
like werewolves, stone werewolves
They're
type of
horrifying.
They're
vibe.
like golems.
They're really
It
scary.
is really creepy.
Yeah,
and
they're being
gross.
surrounded.
It's horrifying.
But Belina lays an egg because she's so scared.
Yeah, and they're being dangled above the Gnome King's mouth
Yes,
right
yes,
now.
yes, he's
'cause
about
he's
to eat them.
Luckily,
yeah.
And her egg falls out of Jack Pumpkinhead's head and straight down the Gnome King's throat.
oh my god, in this moment I was just like, well, when I heard Belina's little oh dear. I was like, okay, so she's here. So I still at this moment did not realize she was in Jack Pumpkinhead, like in his head.
yeah.
And so then I was like, she's going to throw an egg at him. It's going to kill him. But then all of a sudden I see the egg fall out of his head. I was like, she was in his head the whole time. Are you fucking kidding me? I was shocked. I was bamboozled. I was speechless. It
That's
was
so
amazing.
funny.
This made me like feel a whole, I was like, okay, this movie's good.
yeah.
So the Gnome King starts getting crusty. And
Yeah,
then all
his
the
eye
other
crusts
gnomes,
over.
Ew, his
It's
eye
gross.
all the other gnomes are like poison.
Yeah,
Poison.
poison. Oh, it's poison.
Belina,
And they just melt away.
Yeah, why
Belina
were
does
they like
not
that?
like her eggs being called poison, just like in the
Yeah.
book. She's like, poison
And
indeed.
she's like, I haven't laid an egg in weeks.
Yeah.
You should be
Yeah, she's
happy.
like, I finally laid my egg.
But yeah.
And the Gnome King is just melting away into this like skeleton shape of rocks. And then just a bunch of fire comes up and overtakes him, and he goes down. It's fucking metal.
And it is metal. And Dorothy wastes no time picking up
Oh
those
yeah,
ruby slippers.
the rubble pile has the ruby
Oh, yeah,
slippers,
she
and
does.
she
She
goes
went
and
and
grips
She said,
them.
put those on. We're the same size.
Yeah, right. They fit everybody. It's the Sisterhood of the Traveling Ruby Slippers.
yeah.
But she puts those damn things on, and she takes hold of everyone. And you know what she does? You know, the normal magic that you'd
Makes
expect.
a wish.
She makes
takes
a wish.
chance, make a change and break away.
Oh shit! I thought you were singing the Tangled song.
All right. She takes hold. She takes hold of everybody, and she wishes that they were in the Emerald City, and they wish that the Emerald City was restored, and they wish that everything was back to normal.
Big wish.
Big wish.
Apparently completely doable.
All
Yeah.
totally doable. We see those headless dancing girls come back with their heads. We see the Tin Woodman wake up mid chop. Probably a reference to the book, honestly.
Yeah.
The Cowardly Lion comes back, looks confused. And then Dorothy and her friends and Mombi are all planted safely in some field several miles away from the city.
Yeah.
They are not returned to the Emerald City. They are returned like 16 miles outside of the Emerald City.
And Mombi's still in the cage.
And she's still in the
What are they
cage.
supposed to do with that?
Yeah, they lugged that.
Yeah, but no
Maybe they
They
TikTok.
had to have.
There's no TikTok though.
Oh, that's
Yeah, no
right.
TikTok. He turns out to be an ornament that's
Don't worry.
somehow attached to the gum
Super
antlers.
quick turnaround
Not
on that.
the Tin Man.
That works
moment.
out. Sure.
Yeah, it was. He's not a tin. What was he? A tin donkey?
Oh, he was like
Tin
a
pig.
pig whistle.
A pig
Yeah.
whistle. Yeah.
A whistle pig.
Uh,
They get to the Emerald City somehow, and there's a huge parade. Very book.
everyone is dancing.
now-
Mombi's being paraded.
And actually, in this parade, the Ozians look exactly like I would have thought, more so than the 1939 movie. Like I feel
Yeah,
like
same.
the 39 movie tried to modernize it a little bit, whereas like just all these goofy like feathered costumes.
Yeah, I
that's
didn't
what
like the look
picture.
of it.
Yeah.
I think they did a really good job of like when just overall for the movie. I felt they did a really good job of depicting like what Oz would look like.
Absolutely, I'd
Honestly,
agree.
because like everything that I just imagined, I was like, oh, okay. I was getting a vision that I didn't like have myself because I didn't read the books, but like as I was seeing it, I was like, oh, I feel like that's what I would picture
Yeah.
exactly. So it gave a nice picture for me at least.
It made it realistic too, I think. It did a
Mhm.
good job. And something else realistic, which I didn't realize the whole time really, but TikTok was like all like dirty and like had little green spots on him
Yeah.
before. In this parade, he is brushed.
I literally
Polished,
I was like, TikTok got a shine.
Yeah. He
Brush,
is
brush here, brush,
blinding.
brush there.
And
Yes.
also, did you guys notice that the lion had a blue bow?
Oh, really?
I didn't
He
notice
did.
that.
He had a blue bow. I was like, okay, I'm here for that.
That's so funny. And Dorothy's riding him, right? So Dorothy's
Mhm.
riding him, and everybody's praising everybody, and they all want her to be. They want Dorothy to be the Queen of Oz.
They're begging her to stay, and
And
Dorothy's like, "Oh, you're all my best friends, but no,
what she says
I
is kind
gotta
of
go
crazy.
home."
I'm like, you're the best of friends. She's known half of them for less than a day.
Yeah, she doesn't know any of the people there.
Yeah, but they understand. They're like, yeah, go home. We get it.
So Dorothy wishes that she could be in both places at the same time.
And the
She's still
ruby-
wearing the ruby slippers.
The ruby slippers glow. I'm gonna say I don't understand what's about to happen.
I don't
necessarily.
either. Belina's like, Dorothy, look in the mirror.
Yeah. Little blonde ghost girl Ozma is in the mirror for some reason, and she is Dorothy's reflection. They walk
Completely
toward
different
each
little
other.
girl in a ball gown.
And she's
Yes.
in a beautiful blue
And
dress. and she
her-
has that cute little Oz, like the Oz
circlet
little
thing.
circle thing. Yeah.
And then she has these flowers on up behind her ears, which is exactly how Ozma is depicted in the final like scenes of
you know, though, I
Emerald City
always
Oz.
pictured Ozma as a brunette and not a blonde, though. I must say.
yeah, I
she
always
is a brunette in the books.
I
isn't
always
she?
Oh,
picture
she
her as a
is.
brunette.
Okay.
I actually personally picture her blonde, but the pictures in the book, she's definitely brunette because they color her hair in. It's just like pencil sketches.
They didn't have a
but-
blonde color.
They just left it white. But Ozma asks Dorothy to help her step through the glass, and Dorothy pulls her through.
like water.
Turns out the Gnome King promised Mombi 36 beautiful heads if she hid the rightful Queen of Oz from the people. So, also, the person who tells us that is the bitchy Mombi head number whatever in the movie, 17 in the book. Do you think she's actually just a bitch in real life, and that's why her head
That's
is
why she
bitchy?
like gets the energy.
Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Honestly, that would
Yeah,
make sense
'cause-
that like based off the head, it's the personality that you get.
As soon
Yeah.
as I saw her telling the lore, I was like, I don't give a fuck what you have to say. You're evil.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, no, you're normal.
You're actually bad.
But Dorothy is getting to return home. Belina's like, see ya, wouldn't want to be I live here now. Dorothy says her goodbyes in haste.
Oh yeah,
honestly.
Dorothy's getting kicked out.
Yeah, they're
yeah,
like,
I
go.
know. They say all these things about Ozma, and they have this cute little moment and stuff, and then all of a sudden she's like, "Okay, you gotta go."
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, "All right, nice seeing you." And Dorothy's
And
like,
she's
"Wait,
like, "Oh, I
what?"
wasn't ready."
Yeah, I didn't know it would end this fast.
Crazy. Yeah,
But
she
then
said,
the
I'm not
lights
ready.
just get brighter and brighter. She waves goodbye, and then there's a little piece of straw floating in a creek, and well, it's like a little runnel of water. Really, it's not even a creek. And then Dorothy opens her eyes to it, and she's somewhere just in a puddle of mud.
Probably next to the river from the previous escape from the sanitarium.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's my guess.
That's what I assumed.
Toto's on the hunt.
He's
for her.
he is
She
barking,
hears
yelling.
him. She's like, Toto, Toto. Their reunion, adorable.
That was pretty
Gorgeous.
cute. I was like, of course, Toto would be the first one to find her. I was confused by that because I was like, well, does it leave off right where she like, and right where
Right.
she like kind of dozed off, I guess.
Oh,
But it seemed like, well, since Toto found her and then all the others, the rest of the search party, it's like, oh, they've been looking for her maybe for a minute.
yeah.
Which
I
I
mean, a lot's
actually,
happened.
I have to say I appreciate this about the movie because I feel like, well, at least with the 1939, you kind of think that it's all a dream or whatever. But even like in the books and stuff, it doesn't seem like anyone realized Dorothy was missing.
Yeah, Dorothy
Yeah.
So this
always.
was like
No
just a
follow-up.
recognition of like, wow, Dorothy went to Oz and she was there for a while and people were actually looking for her
Yeah.
and were
Yeah.
concerned about this child.
She just came back really fast.
That's
this
all
time.
I needed to hear.
So they're actively searching
Yeah.
still. Yeah,
Yeah.
because usually she's gone for like a week, but
I guess
this
that's
time
true,
she was
yeah.
gone for like a day and a half, like
Mhm.
in Oz.
And that was the thing. And another thing too about just the hospital getting burned down, which is just, I want to tie it all in with how I think that the doctor was the Gnome King. So they mention at the very end how the only person who didn't survive was the doctor because he ran back in to save all his little robots and
Electronic
stuff,
machines,
which I
yeah.
find interesting. Not saying that the Gnome King died from that, but the way that he did die with all this fire and blazing and this, it was
seriously.
like, was the doctor the Gnome
Yeah,
King?
that's
Yeah.
interesting.
Well, and then we do also get Mombi, we get the nurse from the sanatorium.
Exactly.
She's in the
Who's
back of the little police
helper.
wagon. Yeah, she's
And she gets arrested.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
like in
Yes.
Oz, she was also getting arrested and
Yeah.
she was in a little crate
She's
and
in that little
everything.
cage, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
it's
But-
very 1-to-1.
Now
I like that though. I
Yeah.
like it.
they knew what they
it
were
gives
doing.
that little connection and stuff that is
Yeah.
kind of like, I would maybe say a little homage to the
I think so.
1939 film of
Absolutely.
the people that she sees in her day-to-day life
Absolutely.
are the people that she also sees in Oz.
Yeah, I think it's a really fun parallel, and it's so light and nuanced that it doesn't feel like it was really just a dream necessarily.
Yeah.
It feels
I
like
yeah.
parallel world
With
almost.
everything, if I didn't read or if I didn't know the books and like the lore of my own, maybe I feel like I mean I still enjoyed the movie, but it was just like there were certain moments that I was like, oh, why'd they do it like that?
Yeah,
Why'd
Yeah.
they do it like that?
Yeah.
Why they could have just done it
It's
like
It's
this.
so close.
But if I didn't know anything about the books, I think as a kid watching this, I probably would have really enjoyed it.
yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was
I mean, it's
like
a classic for
thrilling.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so to sum up the end of the film, though, Dorothy
yeah.
is
the epilogue.
home.
Yeah, the actual
So,
end.
Dorothy's made it home. There's no place like it. And I guess no one's really worried about her mental health anymore. They're like,
No.
oh, that place we trapped you in has burnt down, so you must be okay because we found you by a river.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Makes
Seems like they didn't have to
no
send her there to begin with.
sense.
Then Dorothy rubs on her mirror.
Yeah, she just rubs a couple circles on it.
It's giving
up in the
Aladdin.
corner. Yeah.
Yeah. And she sees Ozma, says hello.
Yeah, and Ozma's on this HD TV all of a sudden.
With
like
Belina.
it's incredible. Oh yeah, with
And Dorothy does
Oh, yeah, she
something
is with
honestly
Belina.
dumb. And she's like, oh, M, come
I
look
know.
at
I'm like,
Ozma.
what are you
But then-
doing?
But then
You want
Ozma
them to find another hospital that's not burned down
Yeah,
and send
Here's
you
the
there?
thing. Would On-M not have seen it? Because then
That's
Ozma,
what I'm curious
'cause then
about,
Ozma
too.
goes,
Interesting.
no, Dorothy, shh. And it's like, why don't you just let her show On-M to you?
Yeah.
You're real. Let her see. Why can't she see?
Maybe
It
it's like
doesn't make any
it's like
sense.
it's like Neverland. It's like
That's what I
Peter
was
Pan type
thinking.
of
It's
vibe,
like
like where
adults
adults are just not
can't-
gonna get it.
Yeah, they're
they're
not
just
gonna
not
be
gonna
able to do that.
understand.
That might
They're
have been
not
what they
gonna
were
see
doing.
it. You
But-
know.
Autumn comes upstairs. And
Nice to have your own room, isn't it?
Yeah, and she's like, and fix that mirror because Dorothy like moved the mirror up, and so Autumn is being kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But then she's like, hey, like go outside, Dorothy, like go play with Toto. It's a beautiful day. And then Dorothy does. She goes out, starts playing.
Runs out.
Yeah,
Plays
there's
with
a
Toto in
cute
front of the
yellow
farmhouse.
Brand new little house.
Yeah,
Happy
bunch
ending.
of farmland, and that's it. And I would say that that's probably like a 4.5 out of 5, 9 out of 10. I enjoyed that.
I wasn't prepared to rate it.
I wasn't prepared to rate it either, but I would give it a 4 out of 5. I actually really did enjoy it. And I think as an adult watching this, just the fact that I knew all the Oz lore and like some of the books that it did talk about, I enjoyed it much more.
Yeah.
I think if I would have watched this as a kid, I maybe would have been a little scared.
Yeah, it was intense.
It's freaky.
Yeah, Dorothy Gale.
Traumatizing.
Thank you for listening to Oz Hour. Please join us next time as we begin Book 6, The Emerald City of Oz. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on our Instagram at Oz Hour Podcast for the latest on everything Oz. Oz Hour, created and hosted by Blake Stone and Wyatt Swangham. Co-hosted by Hannah Aguirre. Audio production by Charlie Johnson. Theme music written and performed by Rudy Klobus. Cover art by Valentin Lucas.